Gold. Gold rediscovered. Apple Mania in the marketplace. Smarted phones, speaking networks. I mean, what the latest products mean for Apple partners, consumers, and investors. Squawk on the Street today, 9 a.m. Eastern. Watch or listen live on the CNBC app.
Coming up, Bill Gates sounds off on the conspiracy theories surrounding his support for vaccine development. Also, his take on how the United States is handling the pandemic. And then later, Apple unveiling 4 new iPhone 12 models with 5G. Take a look at the features and what you'll be getting for your money. Squawk Box will be right back.
This is Decision Tech. Find a stock based on your interests or what's trending. Get real-time insights and your customized view of the market. It's smarter trading technology for smarter trading decisions. Fidelity.
Hey guys.
You know Robert, Tracy, of course, Mark from the Windows and Sandwiches. What's up?
Why is Mark here?
You said to get this work done, I should ask Mark.
I said ask Mark on.
Never wondered where the people with all the answers get all the answers? Ask Mark. Accountants and advisors.
Apps are used everywhere except work. Why is that? Maybe because people love doing that at once. Maybe they like
With that part of you have control. You have choice. It's completely a game changer. Why have you done
through his work at Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Microsoft founder Bill Gates has focused on public health preparedness. I spoke to him about the lessons of that preparedness, the conspiracy theories about his support for vaccine development, and about the response of the United States to the coronavirus pandemic compared to other countries.
Our response in most respects has not been very good, and we would have expected it to be good. So, certainly in the testing and the clear message and understanding safe practices in a strong way, we rank quite low compared to other countries.
I think we're better prepared at this point that we are looking at a very difficult fall with it.
No, maybe willingness to admit that we've done certain things wrong and have a clear federal message. There's still an opportunity for that, but there's no signs of it. We get most of the testing results come back way later than they should. Other countries don't do it that way. That's still kind of mind-blowing to me. We need to be willing to say, okay, what's working, what's not working, and prioritize which activities are valuable, like school, versus others that cause even more infection, like certain public gatherings that are not. But it's sort of every state for themselves, without the CDC being allowed to have a strong voice that they've been they've been trained to provide. And now we have the government's top scientist is under attack.
What do you think needs to be done about that? How does it get fixed? And I ask because, you're somebody who's always been pretty apolitical. Governments and foundations, governments of all stripes. You are a little more outspoken this time. Why is that? What do you say?
Well, the area that Gates Foundation is very expert in is infectious disease, including these respiratory diseases, and that's why, with our depth and involvement in that, speaking out over 5 years ago about the preparedness that was important, we felt that was worth speaking up. And so, I can talk through for most countries in the world what the quality of their response has been, whether they're, bad governments in other respects or not. The expertise have seen, okay, what have they done with testing and mask wearing and contact tracing? It's quite surprising. Some have done very, very well, and some have done poorly. So that's a purely technical thing, not a political thing. Most governments take advantage of their scientists and listen to them. They don't undermine them and attack them.
Have you been surprised at the amount of pushback there's been just from the American people in terms of doing something simple like wearing a mask?
Well, again, that speaks to, what are the leaders saying? We have to admit that the scientific community in the early stage of the infection, we thought this was about coughing. We didn't know the simple masks would provide so much benefit. So it wasn't as you got into April that we started to really develop that evidence and very clear message starting in May. So I am surprised since that time, given that, we tell people to wear clothes, I don't think of it as some ultra important freedom thing. That, there's another part of your body, at least for the duration of the pandemic, we're asking you to cover up most of the time. And so mask compliance in the United States is quite poor, and yet the cost of the mask and the productivity loss from the mask, it's quite an intervention. And really, other than our social behavior, the primary tool we have until these therapeutics or vaccines get out there in big numbers.
Do you think I've been shocked at the blowback I've seen directed at you over vaccines for this stuff, but for the masks too. How frustrating is that to you?
Well, the whole digital media space, where people are dealing with the bad news of the pandemic, has spun up a lot of conspiracy theories, and the two people who are most targeted, and those are Dr. Fauci and myself. Do we have some malign reason to think vaccines are important in general? And, that's unfortunate, particularly if it undermines the mask wearing, or if it undermines as the vaccine gets approved. Are we able to have people not only protect themselves, but protect their loved ones, protect the community by participating in something that's been proven to be safe?
Have you talked to Dr. about that?
Yeah, he and I don't talk about conspiracy theories because, neither he or I, know how to stop that. He and I talk about the antibody studies. The scientific team at the foundation gets on the phone with him on a regular basis, and because he's seen company innovations that we're seeing things he's not, because we have a global view, very, rich dialogue with the private companies on a regular basis. And so, we're saying, okay, how do we get antibodies going faster? Or what are we thinking about the different vaccines? So it's a, couple collaboration, which we've always had. He's an infectious disease expert. Those used to be very obscure. People didn't talk about malaria and TB, but, Tony and I, we love talking about that.
We do have more to come from our conversation with Bill Gates. It's coming up in the next hour, including Andrew, his thoughts on regulating big tech. Obviously, that's something he knows well because he lived through it as the head of Microsoft. Andrew.
Yep. Thanks, Becky. Great discussion. Look forward to hearing his comments on that as well. We should mention Wells Fargo's earnings just crossing the wire. Quarterly earnings of 42 cents, only 3 cents short of estimates. The revenue was above forecast. Reaction to those numbers when we return to look at that stock off of 1.5% after that news. Squad return was priced after this.
Before we talk about tax smart investing, Audrey's expressing.
Correct.
Changing plans is always part of the plan.
Let's see what we got here.
Tomorrow's the last week of joint planning should go along. $10 a month, no commitment. Keep it fresh with tons of cardio and strength equipment and exclusive paid clubs.
I don't like the numbers on Tesla. The Goldman only gives it 450. Doesn't mean it won't go up, but I finally figured out why Ken Rosenberg loses all the time. Yesterday he bought SRN and he got wiped out. He got his count closed because he was pumping up ABML at the end of the day by buying 2,000 shares, fluffing it up. Obviously he's down on the stock. And then he gave us his baby biotech piece of shit. What was it? ON something, whatever. ONTX. One loser after another after another. He's gone to his parents for 8 years in a row to get money. He loses money every year. He's down and you follow him. And you know he works hard and he's not stupid. Unfortunately, I figured out what his problem is. His parents probably told him he was a loser. He's programmed to be a loser, and he loses. And he works hard. It's a shame. Barbara works hard, but she's not programmed to be a loser. She's programmed to be a winner. And Barbara wins. Barbara calls me at 7:45, make sure. I say, Barbara, I like PLL and I like TQQQ. I didn't sell my PLL, but I did sell my TQQ.
Businesses today are looking to tomorrow, adapting, innovating, setting the course. But new ways of working demand a new type of network, one that's more than just fast. You need flexibility to work from anywhere and manage from everywhere. Advanced technology with serious security and reliable coverage.
I have 2 recordings on. One is about Rafa. That's the first one. And you should listen to it. It's about Rafa and Lazy. And the second one is about the market.
This industry is on its knees.
COVID-19 has been a catastrophe.
If you can call it normal, this is the new normal.
Shepard Smith reports air travel returning premieres tonight, 8 Eastern, CNBC.
Good morning. Results for Wall Street's biggest banks coming in fast. We've already heard from Bank of America and Goldman Sachs this morning.
Workforce is quite depressed.
Bill Gates on the record on beating the coronavirus and also how much eventually treatments are going to cost. More of that special interviews on the way. And as stocks have staged an impressive comeback from this year's lows, we've seen another phenomenon. The rise of the retail investor. Coming up, an exclusive interview with an expert on just that. SoFi CEO Anthony Noto. The final hour of Squawk Box begins right now. Good morning and welcome back to Squawk Box here on CNBC. I'm Bill Clinton along with Becky Quick and Andrew Rossmark and the U.S. futures up about 36 points right there. Goldman Sachs. The Dow component had pretty good numbers. And I think last I looked, that stock was up about 7. So not everything in the
Hooray for Goldman Sachs. The market would be getting smacked.
today, but just Goldman would normally be worth more than 29 points. But so there's some other things going on. And then we look at Wells Fargo, which I think Becky's going to talk about. And we can talk about the 15 for the day. So we got
that going for us. Someone said that yesterday that Wolf got to come on and talk about it, and I think I said what everybody's saying. Goosebumps, basically is what happened. 0.717 on. You saw that, Andrew, right? I think you were included on that email. Anyway, Wells Fargo's out. Becky, take it away.
Those numbers coming in, Joe, let's just talk about those. Earnings came in at 42 cents a share. That was 3 cents below what the street was expecting, although revenue was above the Wall Street forecast. The bank actually benefited from strong mortgage banking fees and higher equity markets, but that was offset by higher expenses and as you mentioned, Joe, lower net interest income. It looks like the net interest income margin was just 2.13%. The return on assets was 0.12%. But I know most of the day those numbers
And we're going to get to it right now. It's, the third big bank reporting this morning. Well, you guys, just to add to what you guys are already saying on the Wells Fargo point, is to compare the credit loss decline compared to some of the other banks. So that theme across all the commercial banks, which is encouraging. Wells Fargo's Q2 provision for credit loss was $9.5 billion, right down to $0.8 billion. So that compares in scale of reduction for JP Morgan to 10.5 and 0.6. But all of them, Citibank, as well, seeing that big decline in provisions for bad loans, which is encouraging. The pressure for Wells Fargo, though not quite to the same extent, like Bank of America on net interest income. There we go, Joe, for you. And I guess coming into this quarter, one of the questions we had was, will there be a continuation like there was in Q1 and Q2? Of the place to be in 2020 is investment banks, not in commercial banks. We thought that would continue, but perhaps not to the extent that it looks like is the case again here, because Goldman Sachs, very strong numbers, as you mentioned, in the face of providing some bank credit, slightly disappointing. 10.8 billion revenue, way ahead of 9.3, EPS 968, well ahead of the 556 estimates, and a high teens ROE that hasn't been the case for quite some time. I will say that investment banking and trading, similar theme across the other banks, which is lower quarter over quarter, higher year over year, and that their beat, not to look down on it because it's a very strong beat, really came in the asset management division, where they got 2.8 billion in revenue. The forecast was 1.8 billion, but very strong numbers. For Goldman, you're seeing them up 2%. You're seeing Bank of America down 2%, which just sort of summarizes a theme that's been playing out and their share price year to date as well. Obviously, that bodes well for Morgan Stanley. Operationally, how much improvement or not do you think we've seen now at Wells Fargo? If you were to grade, no longer the new CEO,
Not much so far, and you continue to see the lower estimates over the last couple of quarters across a number of measures. So I think need to start to see that to turn the corner relatively soon. As you said, I think came CEO about 12 months ago. John Shrewsbury, the outgoing CFO, will be joining us on Close Bell later today.
So, Rolf, I was hesitant to talk to you, but NBC Sports just released the Premier League schedule, so I've got a legitimate reason to talk about soccer, because NBC has a big presence in soccer. And I only see you every 3 months when the net interest income stuff comes out. But I wanted actually to ask you about the article that was in the front page of the Wall Street Journal yesterday. You know, Billy Beane, the legend out in Oakland, that young people made out of Moneyball, made by him. Did you see that he's going to go up to that sports outfit up in Boston that owns the Celtics and I think the Red Sox, at least John Henry Liverpool?
Dave & Buster's PLA license retail sales for August were down 75%, 62% for the month of September. John Barron's at customer service double or triple from here. So we go into the avoided. Bloomberg reported that the NBA Finals viewership declined 51% year over year. Bloomberg reported that AMC Entertainment sponsor AMC will consider potential bankruptcy filings. Bloomberg said that Ford Motor Rapid delayed the launch of their plug-in electric SUV Escape models in the U.S. Bloomberg reporting that ConocoPhillips COP is in talks to acquire Concho Resources CXO. Looking at the Pacific calendar today, we have one IPO priced on the NASDAQ. Stock time is not yet determined. That's in the shares of Kodiak, stocks in the CBAK, 5.5 million shares priced at 15. That was the middle of the range. Goldman Sachs, Evercore, and William Blair, the underwriting on the deal. And then we have four secondaries in alphabetical order. First, Americold Realty Trust, CLLD, 31.9 million shares priced at $38 each. Citigroup, Bank of America, and Goldman Sachs underwriting on the deal. Royal Caribbean RCL secondary offering, 8.3 million shares priced at 60. Stock trading at 61.30. Morgan Stanley and Bank of America leading the syndicate. Alphatech ATEC for a secondary offering of 11.4 million shares priced at $8.75. Stock trading at 10.25. Morgan Stanley and Cowen lead underwriters on that deal. Ocular Therapeutics OCUL. 7.1 million shares priced at $9.75. Stock trading at 11.15. Jefferies and Piper underwriters on the deal. That's what's in the calendar so far tonight. Looking at the economic calendar for today, we do have the weekly Department of Energy inventory numbers due out at 10:30 this morning. But before that, at 8:30 today, we have the producer price index report for the month of September. And we'll be back shortly to take a look at some research from around the street.
Okay. PLL is down from 55, 32.70. Positive article on it today. We'll see how it acts. ALB, a lithium stock, down 3.5, 3.14, I should say. Silver and gold bouncing a little. Amazon up 12. Tesla 4.49. 2 additional upgrades that came on. I think that the best thing is the quarter date as opposed to the morning, because my accuracy rate at the end is much higher. I mean, what happens is everybody already knows what's been upgraded. There were people who come to work at 7 o'clock. However, most people don't stay around at quarter 8. Even the professionals go home. So when an upgrade or a downgrade like PLO, I bought that at the close yesterday, and I saw that the futures were going down, and the fear index was going down. So I bought the TQQ. That was up 179. I called Barbara at quarter 8. I think that's the best thing to do at quarter 8. Of course, yesterday you could have paid 152. I don't know why you put a 150 bid in. You could have called me besides. You didn't. Barry, what price are you putting it in at? 154. Why? Because sometimes everybody else will pay 152. That's why you don't bid 150. Don't tell them to pay 152. Why would you bid 150? They're going to pay 152. They're sheep. So making money in the market is psychology. It's you don't bid. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Not until I know. Not for a while. Mm-mm. They're going to have to come out with a lot of news, and they're going to have to get the order done, and they're going to have to want to take on the shorts, and they will when they're ready. They'll kill them. But for my updates, what's my updates this one? How many? 2? Good boy. All right. So then you didn't hear me tell people about it. You told me to buy. You heard me tell them to buy lazy. I don't know. Is the secondary going to be priced? I have to. You can't tell pre-market. Lazy has, and besides, it's not really a day trade. Lazy common is a day trade. Lazy warrants are probably not a day trade. But you bought that thing yesterday, right?
Just a quick note, according to Reuters, AMC Entertainment, stock on AMC is the value accuracy.
Good. All right. Well, I think there'll be news tomorrow, and I think you'll make $1,000. Let's get in the habit of calling me at quarter 8 if you can. Right. Now that doesn't mean they pay nothing in the morning. You can listen to the update, and you can say where are you buying this or where are you buying that. Right this minute, I think the market's still a little toppy, and I'm not dying to buy it. I want to buy something I have an edge. I think I have an edge on the one you bought yesterday. So I want them to be 9s. I don't want you to lose money. Now I'm lazy. I would put I'm going to buy 500 at 15.01. If it trades there, it might get to 14.50, but I'll make money. They're going to open they're going to start renting RVs. That's why they're raising the money. So they're going to buy a whole lot of RVs, and they're going to rent them. They're going to charge people quite a bit of money to rent an RV. And I think a lot of people, millennials particularly, are going to want to not want to stay in a hotel, and they're going to want to take their family on a trip to Yosemite or wherever. And I think that Lazy is going to get an investment banker by this because Bad Patrick will recommend it. Now, again, it's not a day trade, but it might be. I can't know that it won't be priced at 14.50. There's no way I can tell from the tape right now. But I'm happy to buy 500 at 15.01. All right. I just said I like Workhorse. Workhorse is depressed, and IO is up. I would, wouldn't be afraid to buy a couple hundred workhorse there. BlackRock was recommended again. Goldman up 5, but Bank of America's down, JP Morgan's down, American Express is down, Verizon's down, Visa's down, Dow Chemical, Kramer Weiss is down, Travelers is down, XLF is down, KRE's down, but not by much because Goldman is up 5. Huh. Barbara, I figured out what Kent's problem is. His parents' problem told him he's a loser. He's a piece of shit and garbage. And you know what? He trades like it. He works hard, and he's out to destroy himself. And you can't change that unless he changes himself. The only thing he can do is stop doing anything. He should just follow what we're doing. You're making money all the time. If he wants to make money, but he doesn't. He's programmed to be a loser. I mean, if the stock is meant to get wiped out, he's got to buy it. And he posts everything that's already up. He never, ever, ever buys something down. I said, Ken, why did you buy Farmer at 152? I don't know. Well, because it was too easy. He had to buy it at 290 when it was the bigger risk. Proper discipline, money management, and hard work. He doesn't have money management. He doesn't have proper discipline. He does work hard. And he's bright. So he's got 2 out of 4. But he won't make money on 2 out of 4. Riley says Generon, G-E-R-N, has 100% upside.
We're just taking a look at research. We start out with upgrade. Raymond James raising its rating at AutoZone AZO, raising its rating to a strong market outperform. Jeffries upgrading Beacon Moving, BECN, to a buy from home. Goldman Sachs upgrading Axel Clothing, AMSTA, to a prediction buy from buy rating. Capital Chevron upgrading BASF, BASFY, to a buy from home. Rolling Stone upgrading Caravans, TBPH, to an overweight from equal weight.
UEC was upgraded to 150 on higher uranium prices.
JP Morgan upgrading DO, NIO, to an overweight from neutral rating. Benchmark upgrading Altair, ALTR, to a buy from home. And there's your upgrade so far today. Taking a look at the downgrade, UBS assuming coverage on Splunk SPLK with a sell rating that's down from the high. JP Morgan downgrading the buy page, NBPA, to a neutral from overweight. JP Morgan also downgrading Wahana Health, LVGO, to a neutral from buy, a neutral from overweight. Goldman Sachs downgrading Sherwin-Williams, SHW, to a buy for prediction buy. Atlantic Equities downgrading Constellation Brands, STZ, to a neutral from overweight. Investec downgrading Whiteside, WIT, to a hold from buy. JMP Securities downgrading Watson Holdings, WTRE, to a market report with outperform. And maybe a downgrade so far today. Taking a look at the initiations of research coverage. People initiate resuming coverage on Trust CREX for the bond. People resuming coverage on AZEK, AZEK for the bond. Joe Bush initiated Unity Software LU without its form. UBS initiated DocuSign, DOCU for the bond. UBS assuming coverage on Salesforce CRM with a bond rating. UBS assuming coverage on Microsoft for the bond. UBS assuming ServiceNow NOW with a bond. Jeffries assuming ACOR, ACCOR with a bond rating. We have initiating coverage on Heat Biologics, HTBX with a bond rating. Wayne initiating Humanity, HGEN with a bond rating. Citigroup is initiating coverage on PNM Resources, PNM with a bond. General Montgomery initiating CTO Realty Growth, CTO with a bond rating. Deutsche Bank initiating One Life Healthcare, ONEM with a bond rating. Ladenburg initiating Cogent, COGT with a bond. Wayne initiating Compass Pathways, CMPS with a bond rating. Meter initiating Chaos, CARS with a bond rating. Meter initiating AYR Strategy, AYRSF with a bond rating. Northfield initiating Doors, GMHI without perform. Barrington initiating Cullenburn HI without perform. Jeffries assuming coverage on Compugen, CGEN with a bond. Maxim initiating BioLane, BIOL with a bond. Morgan Stanley initiating New York Times, NYC without a rating. Caterpillar initiating Uranium Energy, UEC, respect with a buy. Those are initiations of research coverage, so far for now. Taking some of the general comments of research.
Best buy today is if you can get some lazy warrants, some schmuck sells them.
Either the comment I made was like Charles' EW, so the market share of higher durable. Piper says, search index also an inline net third quarter subscriber addition rate. Bears are their buyer of Root, VRM, current level. Always over see some nice iPhone additions, but keep a sell rating on the shares of Apple. Piper raising the cover on Fox, CRLX 53 up from 48. JMP raising the cover on Sunlight Energy, NLVA 55 up from 43. Wainwright raising the cover on Vista Gold, PGZ for $3.25 up from 250. Citigroup said this quarter will be a bottom on margin for Micro. Barclays raising the cover on BlackRock, BLK to 700 up to 625. Barclays raising the cover on Booking, PKNG to 2,000 up from 1,900. Barclays raising the cover on Mercado Libre, NDLI to 1,350. Barclays raising the cover on Teleshop, PPLN to 142 up from 111. Barclays raising the cover on Spotify, SBLT to 320 up from 310. HSBC Credit cover on Chevron, CBS to 86 down from 93. Barclays raising the cover on Zillow, ZG to $7 up from 50. Barclays raising the cover on First Republic, FRC to 130 up from 120. Chelsea's cover is covered on Citigroup to 63 down to 78. Citigroup said the iPhone features and pricing are in line with expectations. Citigroup goes to 800 on BlackRock, BLK. Citigroup cover is covered on Marathon Oil, MRO to 475 down to 650. Speaker losing cover on Snap, 32 up to 27. Citigroup losing cover on UPS to 190 up to 150. Oil cover is covered on Number 7, PEI 32 down to 35. Citigroup raising cover on T-Mobile, TMUS to 162 up to 130. RBC Capital raising cover on Mosaic MRS to 25 up to 20. Labor raising cover on Downband, CIS to $70 up to 55. Neither said the Apple HomePod mini was not a higher revenue per home. North Capital raising cover on Shopify to 1,000 up from 850. RBC Raising fund on Slack, WORK to 37 up the trade. Tampa funding target on possible GLSS to 20 after 33. Tampa raising target on J&J, 180 up from 168. Only raising target on Tesla to 450 up to 400. Only raising target on Ford up to 8 up to 7. Phillips raising target on Peloton to 144 up from 116.
Yep.
Phillips raising target on Wallace NLS.
Okay, I figured your problem. Your parents told you you were a loser. They told you you were a piece of shit, even if it's not the words. And you were programmed to be a piece of shit and to be a loser. You work hard and you're smart. Yet you do terrible money management and it's self-destructive. You want to lose. You want to lose because you're programmed to be a loser. So that's when you tell me you don't know what the problem is, that's the problem. The problem is you do everything stupid. You bought the baby boat, the baby shit yesterday, instead of the end of the day when I call her to buy a TQQ. You wouldn't call me in a quarter day. You have no fucking brains to do that. You might make money. No, you buy a little baby thing that goes down, gets wiped out. You buy SRNE that got wiped out. You buy ABML that's a piece of shit because it's going to change its name. You do everything that's stupid. And you're not stupid. But your parents told you you were a piece of shit. They programmed you and you act like a piece of shit. And you do. Yeah, well, I'll give you a simple way. Don't do anything that you think. How about that? Don't do it. Barbara makes money every day. If you want to make money, just follow what she does. Now, she calls me, or I call her at 7:45 and say, I'm buying PLL and I'm buying TQQQ because I saw the futures were weakening. And you never buy them down. God, you wouldn't buy something down. You got to buy them up. You got to make sure. It says buy low and sell high. No, you buy high and sell low. You're programmed to be a loser. Which one did it to you, father? You're a piece of shit. You're a loser. You're a loser. You're garbage. That's what he did to you. What? Well, you want to know, and you tell me you know what your problem is? You know what your problem is. How do you change? You don't fucking do anything you want to do unless someone else agrees with it. Who's intelligent. I, by the way, was self-destructive. I don't do anything at all in business at all without calling two very bright people that I know and say, what do you think of this idea? I make sure that I don't fucking put myself back in jail. So, with all your fucking stupid ideas, when something goes up, put it on the list and watch what they go down 2 or 3 days. And then he asked you about what do you think behind it. And then Paso, when it was 4, you said you wouldn't buy that, too much risk. I said, what is he, fucking crazy? How much risk could it have? A penny? But it didn't have any risk at 8. And then you didn't want to buy it when it was a buy. Talk about being a fucking fuck up. You're the worst. You can't correct yourself. Don't make decisions. How about that? How many Roth you have left? Well, so you sold 21,000. Who told you not to buy more than 10? That you couldn't handle it? So instead of buying it at the right price and making money, you fucking sold it at the wrong price. How stupid can you be? You're fucking stupid. Nobody wants you. I don't want you. I'm never going to tell you about any of my stuff. I don't want you in it. And one of them's coming out with news tomorrow. I told some people about it. I'm not going to tell you. Why would I do that? So you could fucking destroy it? And you can't be trusted. You can't be trusted. You gave your word and you broke your word. So now you're not trustworthy. You're a liar. You're dishonest, and you can't be trusted. So not only do you have a horrible reputation, everybody's hearing this, horrible reputation, you pick one loser after another, you're self-destructive, you're a liar, and you don't keep your word. That's all the things that you about. Just what your father said. You're a piece of shit, you're a loser, and you want to make sure that you make him right. You do a good job. You definitely make him right. Okay.
The core meeting was at 0.4%. And again, I have to send it back to you, 0.2%. And then we got shortly to take a look at some things that are moving, which we want to show you.
AXLA resumed with a neutral at JP Morgan. MGTA upgraded by an overweight to 13. He's got 10,000 left. He sold 21,000. And he needs to never fucking buy any of my stocks. I don't want anything. I don't want to tell him about any fucking thing. He said, see, it's one thing to be a loser. Now he's a liar and a loser. He's a liar. He didn't keep his word, and he's a liar. I don't deal with liars. Mm-hmm. Well, now you know what his problem is. It's clearly what it is. He says his father told me he's a loser, and he makes sure that he does it. And the funny thing is, when you ask him why he does it, he says, "I don't know." He says, "You do know. He just it's real obvious why you do it." Mm-hmm. Girl, I am taking the offer. I'm lazy right now. Well, the warrants thing go down. Well, I think it's going lower. I think it could be already bought for. Did I just get it? Yeah, some part. Yeah, I got 380. Yeah, I got it. It was 15, 15, 15, 22. I took the 22. Now it's open at 87. Anywhere around 15, I got to look. They're opening a recreational. They're gonna buy 60 vehicles. They're gonna rent them out. Now there are people like me. I don't want to go buy a $700,000 Winnebago. How often do I want to use it? If you had a family and you're in Millennial and you want to take a trip to Yosemite, you want to take a trip somewhere, then you can rent it at, let's say, I don't know, $500 a day. But they make money on cleaning it, on refurbishing it, on the insurance. They got you every way going. They make money all over the place. He gave me the numbers. The numbers are fantastic what they make. I'm going to do the story on Saturday. No. So I'm bidding 1526. No, 1525. This is a 100-share bid there. I never bid even numbers because that's what it is. I always go 1 penny above whatever even number or 2 cents above. So yesterday when I said to buy Perform at 52, I bid 54. Okay. So Barry's telling the truth. Ken's a smart guy. He's a hard worker. But he wants to lose because his father told him he was a piece of shit. I went to 7.5 years of therapy because I was self-destructive. I had 5 companies that went out of business. I wasn't self-destructive with Craig. I went to the company twice with 4 other people. Troy, who's fucking magna cum laude, he was there with me. 4 other people were there. We just got taken. JP Morgan, positive comments on Apple. Okay.
And just taking those last names, the median pre-market trading shows a trade desk TTP at 17 points. Median raising is 7 to 750 up at 580, first target at $668. There's an Amazon up higher again, with 1 point. Company containing a Prime Bank sale. DocuSign DOCU at $7.75. CBS assumed recovery or initiated coverage on the shares with a buy rating of $290 price target should come in at $245. Chicken Netflix trading up $7.41. Thursday, coverage on Netflix showing that they're expecting next cycle of pricing increases to occur next year. Here's the Goldman Sachs GS at $4.45. Following a family reports that are expected revenue for the quarter. Here's a Smoke SPLK down $7.85 CBS, assuming Pentagon shares of accelerating back in their prior coverage of the bottom.
Lots of sophisticated advisors, and they try to engage in various ways. But there's going to be
No. Trading lower. Down $2.
Tampa over the record.
$6.60. Market is David responded to 1,350. And 1,340. At 1,264. So we have a nice very long report.
Those resources. We're in uncharted territory here. A lot of industries, like the railroad industry, movie industry, they created special policies that they thought were effective for competition. But it was a new industry with different issues, and so to get it right will take a lot of good thinking. But I'd say the chances of that doing something is pretty high. You always have
I just bought some. Pay 22. I don't know which might suggest. I'm not allowed to give advice. Can't you fucking learn how to ask questions? I mean, well, not well. No, we're not going to accept an excuse. There's no excuses. There's no well. The answer is you can't learn. That's all. I have to hang up.
Very small, which is one of the things. So, the relative value of stock and bonds and things is pretty strong. But even there, you have to think pretty carefully because the way that the future earnings have been priced is very, very high. The Warren and Buffett cost pretty regularly because it's such an unusual situation.
If you get a full conversation we heard a conversation with Bill Gates on Swap 5. It's available today wherever you listen to podcasts. And Andrew, there's thoughts on big tech regulation. A little different than what we heard from Ballmer, who was with us just a week or so ago. But he talked about the whole idea of he did not bet on breakups coming. Bill didn't say he thought breakups were coming, but he did say he thinks the chances are very high that something happens.
Right. And something will happen. And something happened by himself. So,
I don't want Tom Friedman on that panel. Oh, God.
I bought 400 lazy because that's all it was offered at $15.22. PLL up $1.30. I don't know why it should go to at least 36. At least. No, I don't.
She's legendary.
I know.
The plasma.
Yeah, well, maybe it's different. VEEV, I shorted the stock after the close. It came out with bad earnings. I mean, it was downgraded. It was up to 308. Caught at 8, best trade. PLO, caught at 8, best trade. TQQ, sold it this morning. Bought it after the close, caught at 8. Those of you who don't want to trade at a quarter at 8, don't want to make money. It's the easiest time. You must be kidding if it makes a difference. I more than doubled my money, almost tripled my money in the last 4 months, and you haven't made any. You want to see if it makes a difference? That's a retarded statement. Call it 7:45 if you want. Oh, you can't even hear me.
Selling a home is expensive and stressful. So we set out to create a better home. The network of the most successful real estate agents in America. They'll sell your home for little as 2%. Yes. Just think. You're not a discounter. Top level agent that'll give you the best result.
Media in the marketplace. Smart advisors. State network. With the latest product speed, partners, investors. Smart real estate today, 9 a.m. Eastern. Watch or listen live on the CNBC app.
GWRE for downgrade from 145 to 130. You want to see if it's going to make a difference? Are you retarded? I tripled my money in the last 4 months. You've lost money. Barbara more than double the money. You want to see if it makes money? You must be kidding. You want to see if you're mature enough to stop being a fucking idiot. That's what you want to find out. Last night after the close, VEEV was downgraded, so I shorted it. Got off at 307. It's bid 302. I'm trying to cover it. Last night after the close, I bought PLL. I told it to you. Now, I only bought a little because I thought it would go down more. It's up. I bought the TQQ because the futures were going down. I sold them up $1.40. You know what? You want to know how to make fucking money? The easiest time is a quarter day. The easiest time. You want to know how to make money? You can post your ideas. Just don't do them unless someone agrees with you.
Real risk. Just bring in assets. When someone wants to buy stock, you make sure you find the other side, and that's why that stock is up. But the rest of the group is down, so it gets pulled down by these ETFs. I didn't have ETFs, so I strengthened the business there.
So overall, though, do you think that Solomon had the position well?
Yeah, I mean,
Why buy it?
Last quarter had vicious volatility, but I think that you're seeing them take a lot of share. And when they take share, I think it sticks with it. It's smooth share, which is incredible. You can take share during a time when some people can't, but they did it, and they did it in a way that I think is going to be sticky. And if the rest of
I want to buy things that have a catalyst to go up. VGRBF has a catalyst to go up. Raymond James, AutoZone, strong buy. DraftKings up 20 cents. Caesars up 20 cents. Penn up 20 cents. All 20 cents.
China, Singapore, Malaysia, South Korea have done better. We've got, it's a 4-lane highway. We've got 3 lanes that are the best, and everything's working. We've got another lane, the theater lane, the restaurant lane, the travel lane. That's got potholes. It's a real rumble there. You can't get through it. You can't switch over the other lanes. So we got to protect that 4th lane. And no one really knows what to do with the 4th lane. So instead, it's just lane. And you see it particularly in JP Morgan's numbers. You see that they're very proud that 80% of forbearance is good, 20% is bad. Well, there you go. There's the lanes that are good and the one lane that is. And we got to fix that last lane. It's got to be about humanity. That last lane is about humanity. We can leave them. We can let them go.
Is it just cold and calculating and just not relevant to
Kroger downgraded.
stock prices as
JR.
a leading economic indicator, and at some point in history, it's been a barometer of economic health. Does the action of the Fed and all the stimulus, does it negate the stock market barometer saying that the economy snapped back better than most people thought? Can we just not use new highs in the stock market to say that we did okay in terms of reopening?
I think that yeah, well, here's the truth. I think that our scientists are good. Yeah, J&J held down by one person. Eli Lilly held down by the manufacturing area. Regeneron not held down. Pfizer, David says we are Pfizer pretty soon.
Splunk downgraded down $8. VED down a little.
For that one group of people, let's conclude AMC, Broadway, theater, maybe in some of the stadiums. I think that the key test will be that the Super Bowl will be a COVID-free zone. That's what I think is going to happen. I'm not kidding. People don't believe me. I think it's going to be a COVID-free zone. They're going to give you a handheld PCR test 20 minutes before you go. It's going to tell you whether you get in, and you go to that event, and you can scream your head off. And there will be no COVID. That's what I'm shooting for. February, I'm shooting for Super Bowl to be good, and then in March, everybody gets it. And that's why the market's good. We just got to protect those people. Secretary Mnuchin has to put forward a small and medium-sized business package that cannot be rejected.
Eagles, Bengals in the Super Bowl. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, we tied.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. You believe that? And I had money on that too. Anyway, thanks, Dan. Thank you.
I'll tell you, by the way they're going to, I want to add one thing that Jim's
PNR downgraded.
I don't know if they'll do it at the Super Bowl this way. Actually, Anthony Noto, we're going to have on, used to be an NFL man, maybe he'll have an idea. They're now, people who are doing events, because I actually just got invited to something like this, they're going to test you every day for 3 days prior to doing something. That's exactly the way you can actually really make sure it doesn't happen.
No,
but
you got to test the morning up. We got to.
No, and the morning of. You didn't jump the morning up, though.
That's a great idea.
You can miss people.
I want to go to that. I didn't get the invite to that. Was that some invite that I feel bad that I didn't get?
No, I promise. Because I'm not going to it. When we,
is that the
let's get to Anthony there, but I'm with you, Jim.
No, all right.
I promise. Meantime, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo, they're all reporting their latest quarterly numbers this morning. Q3 was a busy one for Wall Street's biggest banks, but also for retail investors. That's something that BlackRock's Larry Fink touched on when he joined us yesterday.
Across the board, the average investor is putting more and more money to work, which is a good outcome. I do believe that pandemic actually has created that fear of the future, and a response is a higher savings rates in America, a higher investment rate for the long term.
Joining us right now is one of those experts on retail investors, Anthony Noto, CEO of SoFi, has an announcement as well today that I want to get to. But Anthony, before we even just get started, what is going on with the retail investor right now? And is this what we've been waiting for all along? We've been saying, where's the retail investor? Now they're here. We should be excited, or we should worry that it's a frenzy?
You know, Andrew, I think the phenomenon is broader than just retail investing. It's digital financial services overall. There are a few studies that have come out about the impact of stay at home, work at home, eat at home, live video at home. It's causing people to do more and more on the digital devices because they can't leave the house, they can't go to a physical branch. So there's been a second acceleration from the stay-at-home phenomenon for the entire digital financial services industry. And we've seen a meaningful tailwind in secular acceleration. Within investing, we've seen a significant increase in the number of new accounts. We have growth of about 250% in our brokerage accounts since the beginning of the year. And we've also seen new products like our TJF ETF, which we announced 2 weeks ago, really gain momentum. And that's why we're excited today to offer another new feature in our differentiation, which is social following features within SoFi Invest, which gives you the ability to follow other members' portfolios, their watch lists, see what they're buying or selling, ask questions, then also see how you're stacking up in our leaderboard. So There's just more and more.
CNA is only up a nickel. IYT is up 90.
It's really behind the sector tailwind that we're seeing from stay-at-home, driving acceleration in the amount of financial services that are done digitally versus physically. We've seen similar events take place years ago in other areas of the internet.
Anthony, there's almost a gamification that seems to be taking place. What surprises me to some degree about what you're offering is that for so long, investors, especially big institutional investors, and frankly even individuals, have wanted to keep their information private because part of this is you're outwitting the other person. You wouldn't want them to know. In fact, people have tried to avoid being even in some of the the 13D filings and other types of things. So how do you think this is going to play? Is this a generational issue?
No, I think it really follows the theme of social sharing. So SoFi, many people don't realize this, is a shortened version of our name. Our full name of our company is called Social Finance. And with these watch lists, as well as the ability to follow people in their watch list and know what they're investing in, it's about giving them more information to make a decision about investing, and also giving them access to new ideas and other people in our broad portfolio of members. And 70% of our members are already talking to their friends and their family and their colleagues about where they're investing and what they're doing. We're just using the technology capabilities of a mobile phone and its broad-based distribution to bring that information together in a more efficient way to help people be aware of more activity, have better knowledge when they're making decisions. Success in investing comes down to taking a long-term approach, being diversified, dollar cost.
Tesla, I wanted to buy yesterday. I didn't do it. Damn. 451.
1% of our accounts have more than one trade a day.
And just so I understand,
Kept saying it's a great chart. NIO looks super.
Share numbers or dollar volume with somebody's spending, but you are going to see that they bought something or they sold something. Do you have any concerns about people's ability to try to manipulate things?
Listen, it's very important that we provide products that are appropriate for each individual member, and we comply with all the regulatory rules, and we will do that. Simply said, it's the ability to follow Andrew. Andrew allows me to see his watch list or his portfolios, and I'll see what you hold, but also see when you're buying and selling stocks. And because it's an aggregation of so many members, we have more than 1.5 million members now, you can have other opinions, and it's just not one investor and what they're doing. You can see what's happening broadly across that particular stock from the people that you're following. So it's more than one data point, and that ability to see a broad perspective of what's happening in that individual stock based on your entire community of people you're following is really important.
What do you see in terms of the stock holdings of your particular clients and customers? Are they the story stocks we're looking right now on the screen at Tesla, Apple, Zoom, Peloton, Snowflake, or is it a different type of investment? Are they mutual funds and the like?
Yeah, our target customers are younger customer, millennials and Gen Z. Many of them are new or novice investors, and in many cases, they're buying stocks that they like or that they use. So we see a lot of interest in technology stocks and consumer-oriented stocks. I will tell you, I've learned a lot about the different investment behaviors of individuals on our platform from being able to use this social feature of following other portfolios. I found stocks and some of the people that are ranked at the top of the leaderboards, I had no perspective on or wasn't aware of their category. So
yeah, I would suspect tomorrow
because it's giving people
or Friday. I suspect tomorrow. I don't know that, by the way. I just suspect. He said this week, so I suspect tomorrow. I think it's a revenue deal with earnings.
Make sure that those investors are educated about how the market works and about the stocks that they're buying.
Sure, we do a number.
And I don't know that either, but I know he was still talking to the SEC, so it can't be the SEC. Wells Fargo maintains positive view on Apple.
Funding college or buying a
It's up 17 cents. Goldman doesn't like it. Charlie Frank downgrades to 32 from 38.
Within the product, but we also do live streaming events for our members on topics like 401ks, buying a home, investing in cryptocurrency, and so we're not just.
I love the fact that Lazy's down. I really do. I didn't have a full position. Gives me an opportunity to buy. The company's going to go into rentals of the mobile homes. I mean, Hertz, Avis, and whatever, they rented lots of cars. And they're going to sanitize them after each use of everybody that uses them and charge you for it. It's not going to be like a car that gets rented out every other day. It's a phenomenal business. They're gonna. This is long-term. Management's fantastic, by the way.
Goldman Wells, B of A, and at least 7 Fed speakers are on the docket today. Our roadmap begins with bank earnings in focus. BAC, Goldman and Wells all crossing the tape, highlighting a diverging story about resilience in the face of the pandemic.
The guy ran a major company. I gotta find out which company it is.
Carl, I'm going to send it back to you. Oh, wait, I got it. Trial is paused. The FDA reportedly uncovering quality control concerns at an Eli Lilly plant set to manufacture COVID antibody treatment. And Apple debuts its new 5G phone lineup. Of note for investors and customers alike, speedier devices also came with an even heftier price tag. Carl, back over to you.
All right, Jim, on the banks this morning, conversation once again about loss provisions, although also about bonds.
Am I tempted to take the lazy 1550? Not really. Better buy close to 15.
You're at home, you're assuming, and you're taking share from others.
If I had no position, and I was going to buy 1,000, I'd probably buy like 200 to 1550.
Remember, you dry clear. What do we do for dry clears? We give them our clothes, and then we pick them up, and we make money.
If Ken had patience, this is going to be on the Russell Index June at 7 months from now. The stock will be at least triple. Now, if he had taken his money, he wasn't just a stupid trader. You build a position, say 2,000 shares. Stock will, let's say, it will be 50. He'll make $70,000 in 7 months. That's $10,000 a month. You don't have to trade. J.P. Morgan upgraded to 119 from 117.
But on all these things, on the dry cleaner aspect, on the taking and fixed income, on the growth of the credit card, which I think.
You see, Barbara, they show 200, but it could be 10,000.
I think it's old Goldman. They can't buy back stock. The book value, David, is so high. What do you say happens here? What do I say happens here? I think rates probably went out yet again. Nobody wants to invest in the sector.
I'm starting to buy PRTT. You'll see 1,100 share bids. That'll be me. I'm bidding 285 to start.
They said, listen, the reserve.
I think it's got to a depressed price that has to be bought.
You talked about the calls. You mentioned that at this very time, prior to when they sort of, at least the city one had gotten on. Those stocks didn't react well. No, and they're not. And so we pulled things down.
No, they didn't, Rick.
Realize that they spend $1 billion on technology. Yeah, every year, Bank of America's been.
I'm trying to call my broker to find out, and the fucker doesn't answer the phone.
Because of how much they have to spend. Maybe, listen, to your point, Goldman's numbers were.
ARKG was momentum.
But it's, look, you're right, David. It's a core.
See, Barbara, now it's open at 45. Gotta watch out for 200 shares.
The global markets were quite strong.
A little tricky, none of the bitches do that.
To your point about book value.
Now, what you would be bullish if you saw the bid go up from 29.
We talk about markets so often. It's still a
BNTX target raised to 69. BNTX is 95 and they're raising it to 69. Larry, you're a little fucking retarded.
Nothing at all. Oh, I'm just trying to distinguish him from the rest of the banks. I got it. But David, you're right. Steven Scher, by the way, is a tough guy. Yes. He's not like the previous CFO. I don't want to cross him. Right. You feel like crossing him? I actually like him. Quarters crossed him the other day. Did they? Yeah.
Now it's open at 35. Hey, Barbara, I didn't tell you to buy. I didn't say I would pay $15.50. I said, Ken should buy $200, $15.50.
Concho and Conoco could. Two drug sailors get together. That's a Bloomberg story you're referring to. Keep an eye on Concho shares. So therefore it's not real? No, I'm not saying it's not real. I'm just referencing where it comes from because it's not as though there's been an announcement. No announcement, press release. But I'm saying there's oil and gas, that's tobacco. Okay, Carl, oil and gas and tobacco, totally uninvestable, okay? I mean, I don't care. Even mixed limited parts is natural gas. I don't care. Conoco, do whatever the hell you want, okay? I don't really care. Then there's banks. And banks, there's some that are investable, hoping that one day they'll raise rates. But it doesn't matter. Goldman's considered a bank. It's not considered an investment bank. When we see
15.35 gone.
James Corner will come on, I hope.
Trades 129.
Yeah, I think he might. Right. We got a
I
shot.
mean, it's a public plea now. The behind the scenes plea failed. Now I'm going with public plea.
He did come on last week.
Well, he's thrown so much. I think he's overexposed.
I'd be a buyer near 169 on a farmer today if it got there. RAFA.
Certainly versus.
AGQ up 154.
Yeah, that stagecoach needs a little work there.
Well, it did not come in.
No, but Carl, the main thing I'm saying is that there's one neighborly differentiation, but right now there isn't. City was able to pull down everything. I mean, the city call was a not great call. And I don't know, Charlie Sharp, media shy.
Same prick offering 200 lazy at 1550.
Senate goes Democrat, and Elizabeth Warren's head of the banking committee again. What do you think that'll be like?
Right, thank you.
I don't know. Carl, I'll say it'll like be awful.
See, no news comes up on PAL on my machine.
A lot of interesting commentary on the trajectory of the race and how polling may or may not be right. But Jim, larger 30,000 feet, have we answered the question yet?
So I watch every trade on lazy.
Deposits can be so strong and loan growth.
29.50. I will tell you when it's a buy. If I watch every trade, I'm very good.
Gamble if you have a business that you're not afraid of. I mean, I think social distancing and the way that you have to have just a few people in your restaurant at, or whatever store you have has made it so that
IGV up 226.
right now. And I think that's part of the problem is that
Good momentum.
there's just, and plus the whole country's in flux.
Johnson target 168. Now Johnson is probably a buy for a blue chip. 168 target.
It's only a matter of time before news.
You got Goldman up, Johnson upgraded, not Minnesota, Microsoft upgraded. Got the cyclicals up. You got CRM upgraded. That means the UDOW is probably good.
Have you noticed that people down south?
It was up 50. Now it's up 90.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I don't feel good about that at all. I don't agree with that in any way, shape, or form.
I won't go to the Eagles. I was invited to the Eagles to be one of the new people. You know, they sent the memo out.
But before we start talking about the divisions in our country again, can we come back to the banks? We didn't really get through the year. We talked about Goldman, and then you got very upset about it. And Wells did not do particularly well, although, to Carl's point on deposits, as a reflection especially of the state of the U.S. consumer, at least some of them, it's extraordinary. So we talked about it yesterday. JP Morgan up 30%. Think about those numbers. Citi up 16%. Bank of America, which we haven't talked about, up 23%. And even Wells up 8%. Even Wells Fargo actually added deposits.
Everybody had deposits.
Is that a function of people not taking trips, of people not spending money on going out?
What
are they doing? That's not true. They're redoing their homes.
Well, no, that's fine. They'll put they'll make an office in their home. Remember, Goldman did incredibly well with people who were at home.
And the other point is that the provisions for loan losses have not been what was anticipated in terms of at least a negative perspective. They haven't been.
Well, I mean,
Now, maybe it's all coming. If we don't get the aid from Congress that everybody seems to think we need, and I certainly believe we need, for those who we don't talk about enough, but not the big companies. Maybe it's starting to filter in. But at this point, it's still not there in the data.
Well, look at the forbearance numbers. The people who were forbearance.
Yeah.
Do you know that? Well, that JP Morgan was very happy that 80% of them are now paying. It's even higher at Bank of America. I think about 90%. How about those 20%? Have we just forget them? Because of the fight between Nancy and Speaker Pelosi and Secretary Mnuchin? That's not right.
That's not right.
Well, yeah. Hey, by the way, Carl, I see tremendous value in how much Bank of America, I'm going to just highlight it for a second, giving to banks in minority areas. We can't forget that. This is the kind of thing that we now must think about. And I think I have to praise them for what they're doing. I know JP Morgan's offering branches in those areas, but if we don't talk about it, then there'll be no shame for the banks that do nothing.
No, that's true. I mean, JPM's spending $30 billion on racial equality measures for 5 years. But to David's larger point, Jim, Barkin's on the tape this morning saying that 29% of the stimulus was spent. 35% was.
Dang, well, it's a 62. But the stock's only 30, so it's no big deal.
It's building a cushion for households because they didn't know what was coming either.
Look, I mean, who knew that things things could get somewhat under control.
Citibank turns positive, banks turn positive.
Who knew this? The people still think that masks.
Dow turns positive, Visa turns positive, market getting better, UDOD, UDOW.
The world is flat to them. But I do think that we've made a lot of progress. I think the therapeutic is good. I don't think the Lilly's such a setback. I think people are feeling brave, more brave, but I just worry about the cold. I worry about flu. I mean, I think look at all the people how many people are used to sneezing on you all the time? David, sneezing on you means you're going to the hospital.
Well, it doesn't. And if you're wearing a mask and the other person is wearing a mask, you're in a much better position.
True. Thank you for saying that. And correcting my hyperbole. You see, I was hyperbole, David.
Yeah. I see that our producers are putting something on the screen here that I guess they want us to talk about this exclusive Reuters story about some manufacturing issues at Lilly. It doesn't necessarily have to do with anything with the trial that they halted yesterday for their antibody cocktail. It relates separately, but Jim, we're getting closer and closer every day.
Yes.
We're going to hear from Pfizer. We're getting closer. We know Regeneron, actually, it's not a drug. Of course, it's a company that makes the antibody cocktail as well, that the president used to great effect, it would seem. We know those are getting closer. Lilly did pause, but we assume they will resume. There'll be some availability. Bill Gates, you heard him talking to Becky Quick earlier. There will be some availability of these therapeutics fairly soon. Let's listen to what Mr. Gates had to say in terms of how things are going to roll out over the next few months.
As we worked with all the different antibody companies, we ended up picking Eli Lilly as our partner. And so that the antibody's gone into the factory we reserved, and it'll be until March before we have substantial volume coming out of that. In the meantime, Eli Lilly has offered up 100,000 doses once they get approval that will go to the low and middle income countries. So we'll learn how to do the delivery as that we have ramped up. We're very excited about that. We hope that the safety, efficacy, all these things get cleared because it could save hundreds of thousands of lives.
Jim, it was fascinating to listen to that. He is so knowledgeable. Obviously talks with Fauci a great deal as well.
Right.
So knowledgeable in terms of infectious diseases, which has been a focus of the Gates Foundation for years prior, of course.
Well, one of the things that David Ricks is doing by Lilly, he has to talk about the mobile vans and how many lives he's saved with his therapeutics in nursing homes, senior living. I'm surprised he didn't do that. I know he's not going to brag on a day when the feds are saying that maybe his package aren't good, but this man has saved Lilly has saved a lot of lives with his therapeutic. This is not some experimental drug that has not been used, but it's the nature of Eli Lilly, perhaps it's Indiana, and the way they are, meaning that they are hardcore people who do not promote themselves. I'll promote David Ricks. Carl, this thing has worked and saved many lives. It's not like it's just like one person has been hurt. They have helped a lot of people. He should come on. He should call in right now because he's working remote. David Ricks, not David Faber. I don't quote God. David Ricks, please call in right now because I know how much you've done to help people in nursing homes.
Jim, it's a good point. There's so much attention this week on Lilly and AZN and J&J and some of these launches. We'll take a break here. A lot of commentary to get to, including either upgrades or price target increases for Tesla, Activision, Netflix. We're going to watch Apple a day after that event with the new iPhone.
You probably know the news is not coming out. I'm pressing CZR and nothing's happening. That comes up. See if you get this. No, I don't have that. Yeah, CZR, I'm pressing, nothing's coming up. Nothing's coming up.
It's been amazing. It's a work environment. Everyone here is family.
If you are ready to open your heart and your home, check us out.
We thought for sure that we were done, and just now says not today.
I like ALXN. I think it can get taken over. No timing.
And just Brady looked out to the research, she got the comments on Apple, Sony, iPhone, more to positive for Broadcom, AVGO, and Qualcomm, GCLM.
The airlines are still burning through tens
US
of
Bank
millions of
North
dollars
America,
in
anything for the average
and
of
it's
the state.
fascinating watching the move they are making
Goldman raising its phone on
so they
Netflix
can
for
be in
$670 up from
business 6 months
$600
from now
a
or
share.
a year from now. When you watch CNBC, you hear directly from the
Nokia
airline CEO.
and Google Cloud signed a strategic collaboration to deliver
CNBC
infrastructure.
people turn for information covering the COVID-19 impact about how
CBDMD, stock symbol Y3DD, so they see fourth quarter revenues increasing 21 to 23%.
Important to us. Rick has delivered, fighting for common sense solutions to difficult issues like the school safety law, protecting our estuaries by reducing damage to
raising
freshwater
credit on Knowles,
funding for our schools,
$20
all
up from
while
17.
providing over $1.3
raising
billion in lower taxes to families and
Citigroup
businesses.
letter C,
Rick
correction
Ross
cutting
has
department,
delivered,
Citigroup letter C to $83 down from
back to
87.
continue fighting for us.
Year raising
The
phone at
2020 election
BioNTech,
is on.
BNPL to $69 up from
Everything you want
63.
to know from top news sources.
Global Capital raising phone on JP Morgan at 119 up from 70.
The candidates enter
You
the
guys
final
down there,
phase of
Paypal, CNL,
campaign
and Second Wave for
2020.
over the years. Obviously, Capital cutting its phone at CF Industries, Special CF to $32 down from 48.
Just say, show me Election Central to your experience.
Wells Fargo making a cloud review on Apple
Political
for
news
the iPhone
destination.
upgrade cycle. New Capital cutting its rating on Mac
There's a new
Accelerator
generation of
to
technology that provides a step change in what we can do with our
raising
iPhones.
its target on
The next
qualification
generation
TMS to
is here.
$45 up to 30.
Today is the beginning of a new era for iPhone.
Nation says the Department of Justice, Department of Energy awards Jonathan Davis Citrus Energy
About
Intelligence
new
Year.
iPhones that support 5G, Jim. That surprise appearance by
Actually,
Ron
it
Tesla,
shows SAIC
even
Motor
today is
plans to
talking
launch a
about
high-end
nationwide
new energy
service
vehicle
200 million
program
Americans.
for the move to China.
I think Hans is really a kind of different
Wells
CEO.
Fargo
Now,
raising its target on First Republic
he's not
to
for,
185.
he's not John Lennon. Okay, but
JP Morgan
let's
issuing
make
coverage
that
on Raising Tech,
last year.
LSR, CF,
He's a different sort of
Woodland
executive for everyone. But
the
Hans
original
Benson,
trading
he
target on
comes into that
Forecast
game
VP
and he
Hawk
makes
to
me
close
feel
its target
like
up
I
to
have got
23.
to go get the
Wells
phone.
Fargo
Sorry,
cutting
Jim,
its rating on
Windows
Progress
did such a
right
great
now
job.
to equal
But now I gotta
weight
get the phone. This phone is slow. I try to watch a lot of things
for
on
the
this
cutting
phone,
its target on
and it's just not good enough.
GWID to
So I want that
130,145.
phone. It is gorgeous, and it does look
Service
cracking
raising its
thing.
target on
I mean, I don't know about you.
MSP
I cracked my
$84 up
phone
to
in Mexico,
74.
and it was
JP
like
Morgan raising its
my
target
white
on
glove.
First Solar
I
FSI
cracked it. I got the splinters. You get
to
the glass
$87
splinters.
up from
You got the glass splinters.
Only up to about 15 minutes to the open.
And then my wife put it in the washing machine. She put the 8 of the washing machine. Claims that she didn't know that it was in my pants. She put it in the washing machine. Yeah. And then she put it in a bag of rice and told me it'd be better. Well, a bag of rice. You gotta do your own laundry. Well, yeah, that's the real takeaway. Yeah, you got that.
Well, I'll give you another takeaway.
Okay.
Craig Moffat, who we like to listen to, of course, Moffat Nathanson. He says Verizon is the big winner here in terms of his reportedly being the good news. They've been big, of course, on millimeter wave spectrum. We've talked about that because there's always been some questions. Can it actually get through the trees and things like that? But he says, listen, Apple's not that big with them. This wasn't a foregone conclusion. It's a clear victory.
Now there's 428. That's a little encouraging.
Verizon's 2 main MF wave bands, 28 gig and 39 as well, are supported across the new handset lineup. And of course, Hans Vestberg was there, and that lends credence, he says, to the idea that Apple may view Verizon's deployment of millimeter wave as a differentiator, perhaps not relative to AT&T or T-Mobile.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It is. I look at as a Verizon guy, and always hectored by John Ledger, who's not there anymore, but he still hectors me in direct message.
Can't believe my fucking broker won't answer the phone.
It's happy to hear from John Ledger. Hope he gets another job somewhere soon.
Oh, he and I are talking about a gig.
Yeah, all right. Well, tell me your thoughts here on this that I just shared.
You know what? I have been waiting. Do you remember Hans Vestberg's predecessor?
Of course I do. Of course.
Well, what happened to me in the San Francisco, the one that was the Super Bowl, it was the one with the Panthers.
Yeah.
He said, look, it's going to be here. We're all going to use it. That was a long time ago. It's finally here, and I feel like we got to use it.
Right.
I felt very like China yesterday. You know?
I don't like the fact that Apple's only up 5 cents with 3 positive comments and 1 negative by Goldman.
We haven't started, but not really.
United Healthcare down 2.5.
Yeah, well, but the answer why you calling the wire? I'm just saying that. Well, are you able to get up on it right now? I don't know. I have 4G. You got 4G, right? So, by the way, so does everybody else. I want the 5G. I'm sure you do. Well, this was soon be able to have available. Whether or not, I'm curious to see how many places it actually was. How many people called this a yawn? What I really love is like Tim Cook had not got on the stage, and they were commenting,
Wow.
and you know who they are, who were saying, oh, this is a real yawn. This is not anything. I mean, what are they doing? I mean, they told me they put in
Splunk down 9.
5G, but it's in low frequencies in terms of their coverage and small block widths for the spectrum. Well, user experience not really any better than 4G right now. Well, I think Verizon. Well, I don't know. I have to go test it. Yeah. Yeah, Hans Vestberg. Question is, Hans Vestberg. What about? I think he has a reputation for honesty and for getting it right. Verizon has always been on the network. That's always been. It's been a big focus, beginning with Ivan Seidenberg. All the decisions, many of them being the right decisions. Hunter, Vietnam, helicopter. Yep, Oscoy, and then on to Lowell McAdam, and now to Mr. Vestberg. They have not gone the way AT has. It's been a very different approach. But don't forget T-Mobile, which really is the story of the last 10 years of wireless. No, that's absolutely true. But Carl, I've got to tell you, I felt different. Hans Vestberg was a surprise. I think the phone is a surprise. I think that this fact that stock was down was because it was up 6 the day before, which is stupid. That's those people that David's talking about. They're like, oh, there is a big unveiling. I'll buy the stock beforehand, and then I will profit. David, these people are what? What do you think these people are? Are they chowderheads? Are they mountebanks? Are they knaves?
Well, I think it was a spoke yesterday, Jim, that said of iPhone events, I think 4 days out of 15 have seen the stock rise on the day of the event. So that was classic Apple fashion. Well, to be sure.
I don't know.
We'll take a break here. We'll get to UNH, which has some pretty interesting commentary, raising guys for the full year, but saying that next year is going to be incredibly hard to predict. We're back in a minute.
From tap-to-pay technology to mobile point of sale, make purchasing easier for your customers with Adyen. And discover a seamless way to let customers pay with touch-free payments. Adyen. Distance, not boundaries.
Netflix looks good with a target of 650.
What if we could have the perspective to see more? Morgan Stanley
Camping World. Outdoor.
offers investors a broader
Zach starts as a ranking number 1. Strong buy.
bottom line by putting people first. We see a bright future.
I bought it yesterday. Let's hope it goes up.
Who's ready for the next challenge. Today we're translating decades of experience into strategies for the road ahead. We are Morgan Stanley.
Nobody's hitting the lazy bid. No one's taking the offer.
Give customers access to precisely what they want when they need it the most. With
TNA sharply up 36. UDOW is only up 70. I gotta think the UDOW's a buy.
This industry is on its knees.
Fear index is down. That's bullish.
Call it normal.
I don't know. I'm probably not gonna buy it, but
Air travel returning from years to 980s to
looks like a buy.
Futures look strong after that first day down at 5 yesterday. We're seeing all sectors positive.
I'm glad I'm gonna get to build a position in lazy because I think I get at least $50 in June of 2021. And $50 is If you have 5,000 shares, it's 35. It's 175,000. That pays for the dog and bird food.
You've suffered from allergies for years and may have thought about doing something.
And now it gets worse, 28 to 30. 300 by 100.
Simply make an appointment today. Our allergy experts will test you and create a
Cells that come in, I might push it down to 1475.
custom allergy drops will be shipped directly to your home. As time goes on, you'll become
There we go. 1501. They hit out the bid.
clinically proven long-term relief from Aspire Allergy and Sinus. Request your appointment today.
The 2 for $6 classic Mother Cruncher and Big Buford deal from Checkers isn't just a deal, it's a big deal. Get 2 classic Mother Cruncher chicken sandwiches, 2 Big Bufords, or 1 of each for just $6. Boom! Get Checkers delivered.
My blood pressure is borderline. I can worry about it or do something about it. New Garlic Healthy Blood Pressure Formula works safely and naturally with a custom blend of garlic, vitamins, and minerals, and is odor-free. I'm taking charge with Garlic.
Remember, I'm a buyer in Rafama at 169.
So we can spend a bit today knowing we're prepared for tomorrow. Wow, Dad. Do you think he overdid it, maybe? I don't think so. What do you think, Peanut? Nope. Honey, you think he overdid it?
Overdid what?
See? We don't think so, son.
Technically, grandparents can't overdo it. It's impossible. Well planned, well invested, well protected. Oh yeah. Be confident to and through retirement. You know what hurts?
What?
What really hurts?
What?
What really, really hurts? What really, really, really hurts? But you know what's painless? Using ZocDoc to find an in-network doctor and compare reviews.
It's not a day trade.
It's kind of good.
Wow, that's better.
A same-day appointment. To instantly book an in-person or video visit, download ZocDoc. It started in 1898, helping clients and communities invest in hospitals and schools, roads and bridges.
Yeah, wow, ABML's gapping.
And forests.
Ken's got that stock. Imagine he's going to win it.
Businesses and sustainable cities around the globe. It continues today, more than 120 years later, investing to make an enduring impact on our world.
The opening bell is brought to you by New Bean, a leader in income.
CVLB is going to split on the opening.
All right, we've got 2 minutes before we get started with trading on day here. But you want to talk again about this potential Concho deal reported by Bloomberg that has ConocoPhillips and talks about it.
Maybe there's a new symbol on CVLB.
They actually raised it by a penny. I thought that was curious last week. But you know what? Concho is a company. I think
Of
this
course.
is right. When you're talking about a company,
The 4 million shares, they can open a division, it's going to make them a fortune. They're going to go into rentals, RV rentals.
the market cap of this
He doesn't think it's going to 50, he thinks it's going to 100.
was $20 billion, and now it's at $8 billion. With a good balance sheet and absolutely fantastic properties, it makes total sense. It's one of those oil companies, David, that cut back. And you remember how there was this headlong book, like just drill.
I don't think he's thinking 100 by June.
Discipline. And for their discipline, maybe they get picked off. Fabulous presentation at Barclays.
You're presuming that the 4 million shares that they don't own money on it. You're taking it as a negative. It's not a negative.
This would be additive to Conoco, and it makes.
How about if you buy camping grounds at 2 times earnings and you incorporate them at the 10 times earnings? Do you lose money?
But that's a very small deal.
Right, Chevron buying oil and that obviously getting natural gas off the coast of Israel and Egypt.
Will drive this field, David. You're so right. If they can get that pipeline to Greece, they can get rid of the whole gas bomb.
Right, the whole Russian into Europe.
But they won't do it.
Who won't do it?
The countries won't want.
1481.
That was an interesting deal. As you point out, a small deal for Chevron. This would be a larger deal in terms of ConocoPhillips, but would give
Gabriel, I don't know why you bought it when you bought it.
assets there, which continues to be.
You can get it 50 cents cheaper.
Yes, and Concho has long been considered to be one of the smarter companies. So this makes a ton of sense if they do it. By the way, WPX did the deal. I don't know if you saw that little deal.
Yeah.
Now that
with Devon Energy,
the really interesting thing about that data, I'll give you a little hint. Rick Moncrief is going to run.
All right, stabilizing around 15.
From WPX, Devon didn't get is not going to run it. And that's because Rick Moncrief is known as the man who built Continental Resources, not a person we have on a lot on.
No, I don't know. Remember Sidney?
You don't know Rick Moncrief?
Sidney Moncrief, I remember. Great basketball player. Sidney Moncrief.
Oh my God, that's a UCLA. UCLA. Milwaukee. Yeah. But one thing that I want to point out about Rick Moncrief is I was in a helicopter with him, looking at everything in the Bakken, and after an hour I realized I was with the Einstein of oil.
That's not oil. Not the Niels Bohr of oil. No. Not the von Neumann of oil. No. Not the Cesar of oil. No. Okay. Not the Teller of oil.
I did not say Da Vinci because we know who Da Vinci is.
Yes, we did.
Jensen. Look at that stock, Carl. Look at it there. Will you look at that? Burn your eyes out and watch it closely.
It's seen worse days, that's for sure, Jim. UNH is going to be our laggard on the Dow this morning, Jim, as they say going into
Just a quick note regarding the
2021,
single
stepping
significant
out of this
growth rate today.
more conservative all-in 2021 starting points, just because the economic impacts of COVID at this point, as you were saying a moment ago about what the winter portends,
Taking a look at some
just
other
it's hard to call
research
right now.
notes, still experiencing the price level of shift the payments after a year of
I know so many people who
$7.60.
delay things because they're afraid to go to
United
hospital.
Health said they're optimistic on the competitive position for 2021.
So remember, UNH
The
has
agreement
all
to the
the
guideline
forward
model
expectations.
reset is the right move. That's
Every
not
time
the
they do that, they
GWRE.
take a chart. Every time they
Jackson
do that,
raised
yeah.
its target on
So
close
let's
to
not
public
panic
at
when
150
UNH says we're
150
furiously
at
selling it.
148.
Remember, it does come
The
back
market is
with
open
the
to trade.
chart. They always are conservative, and then they crush the numbers. I like the way they are. I think it's good. Remember, they're independent of the ACA.
Meaning what?
They pull out.
They're not in the exchanges.
No, it's not in any exchange.
Right. Unlike Sigma-Tins.
And Centene. Yeah. Right. Carl, these exchanges are so variable that you have to, if you're a Democrat or Republican, you got to realize that it needs some change.
Well, it does, but what is going to be November 10th is when the Supreme Court hears that on the ACA, right? So it ought to go away.
That would be how many people would be on it?
Yeah, be a lot of people. It goes back to Carl, of course, to the hearings going on, continue today, and many questions that Barrett has gotten on how she would rule on that. Of course, she says, not much.
Right. Didn't get a whole lot of guidance on her legal views per se yesterday, but day 2 of Q&A continues. Jim, Netflix up almost 2%. We got a new street high out of Heath Terry over at Goldman. It goes to 670. They do report next week. Actually, it was Goldman, Jim, Cowan at 625 now, and Piper at 534.
Yeah, we're now playing that game.
A lot of optimism going into that front.
Yeah, we're playing that game. It's interesting because Netflix is, again, like Roku, all part of the same trade. It's the go nowhere, do nothing trade. That's what Domino's does so well. I mean, you literally just, what do people do? I mean, I got together the other day, I mentioned on the show that I got together with 20 people. Can I just tell you, it was outside. Do you know the heat I got from people who said, how could you are so irresponsible, 20 people. It was outside. Okay.
I took the subway yesterday. I did. What do you think of that?
Did you have an N95 one?
There I am.
Is that an N95?
No, it's just everybody was masked. Look how clean it is. Perfectly pleasant.
You took a picture of it to show me.
Well, I actually sent it to Todd, our executive.
I took a picture of me going to my car.
And to my producer, Karen. I just wanted them to both know.
I'm so proud of you. You're really something.
What happened out with the Defense of Nuke Industries was the Pacific they were short report. I couldn't does research yesterday. They said the short report misses or misconstrues key facts. They're reiterating the buy rating on shares of Nuke for the $16 price target. That's raw capital on LOOP.
I was offered tickets yesterday, and I'm not going to go.
Back to Netflix for a moment there, my friend. We've got some other notes here also.
With the Piper?
No, Mop and Nathanson was out as well. Remains, of course, atop the S&P market, 18% penetration of streaming households. Total market continues to grow.
Interesting though, how many people now are using it on a daily basis versus kind of a few times a week. Users streaming content on a daily basis at Netflix flat at 43%, Jim. About 36% used it a few times a week. That was down about 3%.
Well, it used to be that you needed to have a water cooler kind of production. If you remember, they'll drop a production and they'll sign up. There's nothing. Like, well, I'm trying to figure out what they did this. Now I want to see if Amazon's doing better because The Boys is so great.
Yeah. But better, first of all, they all are dealing with this production gap that is going to make their libraries or what they have available a little more paltry than it's been in the past.
Are they going to do bubbles? Like a Toronto bubble?
I don't know why Gabriel rushed into buy Lazy.
You follow this stuff closely. There are things that are back in production, I believe, but it's not uniform at all.
She shouldn't be trading. She doesn't know what she's doing.
And we've seen a couple instances where, at least on major films like Batman, COVID case kind of shut the set for 2 weeks. So incrementally, there's been a bit of a slowdown. But I guess, Jim, the larger point is that the flywheel goes beyond Netflix. Every incremental streaming service feeds the idea that cord cutting continues, right?
Yeah, you'll see Roku up. I mean, people can't resist recommending Roku. They just can't. I mean, it's like, well, let's take Roku up. The company by itself is very non-promotional. But it's one of those stocks. It's the Roku, Peloton. We know what they are, right? And then you get Fistly. It's actually Fastly, but a competitor who also does gambling calls it Fistly. And then people buy it. Let's just go by Fistly. I'm not kidding. Everybody, by the way, the Robin Hoodies, they got smacked by World Cricket, raising a little money right in their faces.
Look at this name.
What?
Fastly.
Oh, no, Fistly is the one they use. Right. It's like, let's buy Fistly today.
$13 billion market cap.
Let's put
multiple of sales here. Any idea?
It's certainly over. They're trying to get it, I think, to pass Snowflake. Right. Isn't that the goal? $13 billion market capitalization. Not a lot of earnings there, dude. When you think about it.
What's some lazy? I'm bidding for lazy. What's some lazy warrants?
And it's actually called Fastly, but it has a following like the old days. It's like David. It's become like when the Beatles came to New York.
Yes.
Or do something more recent. I don't know. They have a following like who? Who do your kids follow?
My kids?
Taylor Swift?
Not really. I know, like Justin Bieber a few years ago. Isn't he one of the big?
Well, they're going from 298 million grams to 400 grams, and that is attractive to this cohort. It's like they're trying to get tickets. They come in every day and they try to get tickets to shows, and this is the Fistly show, which, by the way, produces fast internet for none other than I have to mention just Dave has a TikTok. And the New York Times, which was recommended to them. That's what Fastly does. Right. They make it Fastly.
Right.
It's like nicely, guys and dolls.
Stories reporting that the European Union antitrust regulator will clear the LVMH Tiffany deal.
Less than a month from now.
EIF.
We're going to get a ruling in terms of whether the U.S. can prevent it from essentially operating here. We haven't heard anything on that deal, by the way, Jim.
No. Just
remember that? Oracle, Walmart, nothing.
Just crickets. You want another one that they're in? That they go to every day? The hoodies?
Tell me.
Fiverr. Online marketplace. FBRR. Put that one up. This is what they go for. This is like K2. This is so dangerous. But it is one.
What does it do?
Does it matter?
No. But what does it do?
Well, it does. Well, it's an online marketplace for selling, a lot of your good services. They actually help you. If you want to design something, they'll go over and help you. They have actual people. They'll help you Photoshop.
TNA is up. IYT is up.
With pleasure. When you look at that, that's Carl. That is this new cohort. They like stocks that go higher. They're not buying Wells Fargo.
That is unreal. 675%.
We have to ask them if they know what it does. We need a quiz.
Is that the new test for your?
Yeah.
Do you know what the business does?
I think it would be radical. It'd be radical if they knew what it did. It's a Tel Aviv company. I don't know.
You don't know what it does either.
Well, and they help you. It's actually a person.
They help you.
Yeah. Oh, versus that explains a lot. They help you. Yeah, they help you. They're here to help. They're into Etsy, by the way, because of Master. Because Etsy sells hundreds of millions of dollars of Robin Hoods. The Robin Hoods. What are you calling them now? The Robin Hoodies. The hoodies. The hoodies. No offense to someone does competition. He wears a really nice sweater.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe it's off the rack.
The little boy's growing up.
Do you know that there's a suit place in Westchester that outfitted him?
I think Lazy's down about as much as it should go down.
I didn't know that. Guys, Fiverr. Maybe, listen, here's a name that maybe some of them would know, and I mentioned it this morning because it's not one that comes
They
up
get priced at 14.
this morning because there was some new research on it. The New York Times. You've seen the shares of the New York Times over the last 5 years.
LAVU down.
Research. It says basic game set match. So they're the only ones that have a big enough 13 basis
NYT, unique opportunity to scale its paid subscriber base.
I saw my Camping World and I saw my
They have a
Caesars.
$55 price target.
Have you noticed that the president doesn't call it the failing New York Times anymore?
Well, it's hard to call it, and that's Morgan Stanley, by the way. Hard to call it failing when you look at what's happened over the last 5 years. I mean, this thing's now got an actual market cap over $7 billion.
They figured it out.
Salzburgers are living large again.
They figured out, Carl.
What's the symbol on CVLB?
Model turned out that the
CVLBW? No. D.
Working for them. Have they benefited from the Trump presidency?
Anybody know the symbol of CV?
Imagine if someone boring that became president, maybe the numbers would be.
CVLBD?
They're considered to be.
No,
Sorry now. That's Fox does well.
Folks is whose book? That's
Stelter, published.
Well, that was a fast trip on ABML.
That was a very interesting upgrade. It's got real movement. A lot of the upgrades are they have real actions. This is I have no fiber. Yeah. Fiber though, we gotta talk more fiber and fast. That's what we're talking about. Period.
Well, we didn't get to Peloton, new street high 144 Truist. We didn't get to some of the downgrades, Jim, of stocks that we talked a lot about early in the pandemic. Kroger, Cut and Wells, Constellation, Cut and Atlantic, right?
Oh, that was painful.
Hand up a dollar.
Kroger, very competitive. The piece read like an upgrade. I don't know. They didn't want to defend Kroger. You know why they didn't want to defend Kroger? Because has anyone ever spoken to Rodney? To Rodney McMullen? I once said something negative about Kroger.
Goldman Sachs was up 5, it's up 1.
he was mad.
No, the opposite. He said, listen, he went this way, I was wrong.
Well, that's a better approach.
It was
I think that always works. I think that works well. A lesson.
Okay, we got CCK initiated with a buy, BERY with a buy, both by Seaport Global, and so is OI, all three.
Wells Fargo is down about 3%. And Bank of America also down almost 3%.
Who's nicer, Stephen Sure or Charlie Sharp?
Say again, who? What?
Who's nicer, Stephen Sure or Charlie Sharp?
Both very serious, rigorous guys.
They are.
How about that?
I like them. They are big guys.
Carl, over to you.
Yeah, modest gains here, guys. Nasdaq's in the lead. Let's get to Bob Masani. Hey, Bob.
Hello, Carl. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Mixed open today. 3-2 advancing to declining stocks. Take a look at the sectors. Oil's creeping back up again towards $41. That's helping energy out. The banks are mixed. Mixed reporting there. We'll get to that. Industrials, okay. Materials, healthcare a little bit on the downside. That's mixed here. All over the place. Goldman had a big beat on the earnings, just top line. Bank of America was about in line. PNC and U.S. Bancorp, I love watching the super regionals. They had good numbers overall here. The only one really light was Wells Fargo. A lot of moving parts there. Net interest margin was on the light side, and they have a big mortgage division, kind of all over the place. I just wanted to show you here about just generally what we know about the banks so far. Even with a mostly earnings beat and lower credit provisions, it's hard to move the stocks forward here. The credit provisions are definitely lower. Deposits are increasing. But the big question is, if you don't have a trading operation, how do you make money when you're bank? You get loan growth, which is
There was comments in the name, making a
change the net interest margin.
such
That's not happening. It's basically flat to lower. Or maybe loan fees. You get them, they're up slightly or something because the mortgage applications are higher. That's why fees have been increasing. But look at Bancorp, U.S. Bancorp. They're in Minneapolis. This is a big commercial/consumer business. Very broad, very good company to look at to get an idea what the consumer and commercial loans are doing. Their average loans are down quarter over quarter. This is commercial is down. But look, you see all that residential mortgage increase? They've been doing gangbusters on the mortgages. We've been reporting that.
credit cards are generally up slightly higher as well, quarter over quarter. So there's a little
We
bit
had
of
some
good news
ratings
and a little bit
changes
of bad news there. The bad news is
for
banks are
research on
going nowhere
Seaport
this year. The
Global.
bank ETF is down
Seaport Global
30%,
initiating the following names,
30%
Harry
year to
Global
date. That's the
BRY,
problem overall. Now, earnings are better than
Crown
expected
Holdings,
overall, but
CCK,
this whole Wall Street versus Main Street thing is still very much alive, and that's because there's a real difference in how the earnings are coming in here. So spending
Seaport
on
Global
goods
also
is
initiating the
generally
following names,
increased overall, but
neutral
spending
ratings,
on
Enpro,
services has decreased. Well, that's a
AMCR,
big thing. Remember, Wall Street
OI
versus Main
Glass,
Street
OI,
services are a big part of the Main Street
APCR,
economy,
Sealed
not so much on the Wall Street economy.
and Silver Holdings,
Services as a percent of U.S.
SLGM,
economic activity is
Belcorp,
84%, but it's only
DLL,
50% or so
neutral
of the
ratings,
S&P
Seaport Global.
500. So
And
when you
then
skew more towards production of goods,
OTR Global,
Main Street
raising its rating
production
of
of goods
10
are
cents,
higher. This will help Wall Street. This is the main reason our profits
raising
are
its
better,
rating
why
to a
Wall Street
positive from
seems
Nick,
to be
and
doing better than Main Street overall. That's the important distinction.
Seaport
Of course, we have
Equity.
the mega cap names benefiting
OTR
from
Global
more
raising its
from
rating
home
of Breaker,
more on
EAT,
the
to a positive from
Wall
Nick
Street
rating.
and the earnings situation coming in. TradersVault.cnbc.com. Carl, back to you.
All right, Bob, thanks. Meantime, we continue to sift through some of these Fed headlines today. Let's get to Rick Mantelli.
You know, whether it's Fed headlines, Carl, or higher than expected producer price index, you look at the intraday of 10s, very little response to any of the headlines or any of the recent news or economic releases outside of, hey, we want some stimulus possibly. You know, the equity markets in the States doing pretty well, globally not doing too bad, Japan not doing too bad, but it's not the type of economic realities that we are really hoping for because interest rates aren't paired up and correlated with it. I'll show you what I mean. Look at September 1st start to our 10 years. Definitely well off the high yields. Let's look at gilts. This is a month to date of gilts since the beginning of September, 2 months to date. And what you see there is definitely a drift. At 21 basis points, it's at the lows of October on a closing basis. Bond yields. This chart goes all the way back to mid-April. They are now at the lowest yield since the end of April. Let's call it 5.5 months. And Italian 10s at 63, well, they're at all-time forever low yields. And with sovereign yields this low, it's hard to inspire economic confidence, especially outside of some of the issues of governments and central banks applying and helping boost economic data points. Carl, Jim, David, back to you.
Thanks so much. We'll take a look at the markets here. Some modest gains. Financials as a sector almost exactly flat, even as Goldman blows the doors off. Goldman shares are higher, but Bank of America down about 2%, and Wells Fargo down about 3%. Rebecca.
The Bond Report is brought to you by PIMCO, a global leader in active fixed income.
This is the investing book everyone is talking about. It's called Follow the Smart Money. And traders are lining up here to meet the authors, John and Pete Najarian, and get a free copy.
The smart money on Wall Street belongs to the big boys. They're the ones with the resources and technology to know before any of us when a stock is going to move. By following their trades the way we do, you gain their advantage and get in first, ahead of the herd on the smartest trades.
You see John and Pete Najarian on TV. Whether you trade stocks or options, this is how they pick their trades. And you don't have to be here to get your free copy. Call or go to followthesmartmoney.com right now.
A lot of stocks are in the technologies are not doing so good.
And you'll also get this companion DVD.
Probably I'd put a stop on TQQ 156.50.
or go to followthesmartmoney.com now. That's 800-850-3232 or followthesmartmoney.com. That's followthesmartmoney.com. New projects means new project managers. You need to hire. Indeed, you do. The moment you sponsor a job on Indeed,
I bought a lot of lazy warrants.
from a resume database.
That would be what Gabriel should have been buying, the lazy warrants at 285, not the common.
Indeed.com/home.
She cannot trade when you don't know anything.
What's your favorite artist nominated?
The Beatles were the Beatles, too.
What do you mean? Everybody's not speech.
New World Music Awards tonight, 8/7 Central on ABC.
SEC Chair Jay Clayton weighing in on SPACs this morning on Squawk Box. Take a listen.
People should understand that you don't have that institutional investor base kicking the tires around the transaction to the same extent that you would in a traditional IPO. People should understand that. I'm not saying there are fundamentally problems here. In fact, like I said, I like competition. I like direct listings. I like this type of thing. But we need to make sure investors understand the dynamics of the transaction are getting that same good disclosure.
Comes a day, Jim, after Larry Fink told us that putting pressure on private equity, but there's the chance that they could result in what he called accidents down the road.
Well, look, I had a terrific guy.
All the lazy warrants are traded. I bought them all.
Sports Entertainment SPAC, and he was the former executive vice president of the NFL. He ran Constellation when that got in trouble. Remember the
Workforce goes down.
Basically, yeah. He was submarine commander before he worked at Goldman as a partner.
Candy goes up, KNDI.
And a guy like
Ultra, the potential is to take over, goes up $5.
Guy who works at a big company, but he's got a terrific SPAC, and you're backing the person.
Tesla, 455, you son of a
It's the cult of personality. And if you like the person, then you can back them.
Right, but the key for is that
lazy going back up.
to raise the money. There's very little, if no downside. Obviously, it takes some time. But for the investor, you can decide whether to go in or not. But you can get redeemed at $10. Yeah, but you know, so that has been. Yeah, well, his part is probably more important than his. The Rob is actually a lot more important than Gary. No offense to Gary.
Okay.
He's been around a lot longer, a lot more savvy.
It's like I want to invest in something. Well, I can't invest in anything except for Fiverr. Just kidding.
What it does, Jim. We're good.
I only called you 6 million times.
All the sports you love are on Cable TV. Watch every major league on over 100 top channels, plus hit shows, movies, and more. DVR your favorites, keep them forever. Stream live sports on 4K. Up to 5 people can watch at the same time. Hey, you can watch anything.
Carlton did one recently with a company called, the ticker was PRPL. They cleaned up the convertible, the stock went berserk, and then the company got bought out within 60 days. You know, here you got 9.7 million out, but as we know, there were less than 2 million shares in the float. If you take out the convertible, the company sees $4.8 million a year in savings and interest because they were
And so we'll know better about that. And then I have a call scheduled with management this afternoon at 2:30 my time.
Very good. Thank you for letting me know that.
That's over 25 million people.
So if they announce that it's to take out the convertible, say $5 million a year in interest expense, and if you look at the size of the convertible, they have $82 million in cash. So if you raise $60 million, you're dipping like $8 or $9 million into that cash position. Not a big deal. You're going to have a completely clean capital structure, zero debt now, or convertible debt. You save $5 million a year in interest almost, and then you'll have the share count, and then the only thing that you'll have to worry about are the warrants, and then they have more than enough money to come back and do something with the warrants. Probably try to buy them back.
Yeah, well, yes, sir.
They're all about cleaning up the capital structure of the company.
I bought all the warrants that traded today. I bought them all.
I don't know how many you traded.
Not many.
8,000, okay.
Yeah, I bought them all. It's also my bid.
All right, good. Yeah, I think you're gonna get that. If you want some under $3, I think you're gonna do very well with them.
We do very well anyhow. I have to tell you, stock's going 50.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're gonna pick up three, wirehouse brokerage firms that are gonna tell people that this is an investable company.
All right. Thank you, baby.
Searching as simple as booking a hotel. Just type in your location and find the closest airport. Then choose from over 4,000 jets in one place. When I land, there's always a car waiting for me, courtesy of one flight. Your car.
Municipal bonds don't usually get the media coverage that the stock market does. In fact, some people may even find them boring. What they typically do offer is a stream of income that's federally tax-free. Municipal bonds from Henning & Walsh can give you income that's tax-free, and you have to admit, tax-free income can be very exciting. At Henning & Walsh, we offer you tax-free municipal bonds from across the country, so you can benefit from tax-free income wherever you live. There's nothing boring about that. If you have at least $10,000 to invest, we want to send you our exclusive bond guide for free. 1-800-376-4376. That's 1-800-376-4376. We're out to prove that tax-free income can be very exciting indeed. For your free bond guide,
Transmo's doing great, up $2.
376.
TNA up 79.
1-800-376.
VEEB downbreak up 70 cents. The weak group ITA up $1.75.
It's not complicated. A 5G network needs a 5G device. Get the new Samsung Galaxy S20 FE 5G for free when you trade in.
Medical school was very stressful. I lost a lot of hair during that time. Nutrable is 100% drug.
I bought 2,200 shares of PRTT so far today.
Start your hair growth journey at Nutrafol.com. With PlushCare, finding the time to take care of yourself is possible, even when anxious or depressed. Introducing the new doctor's appointment online with top doctors for primary care and mental health. Plus, we take most major insurances. Download the PlushCare app today.
Regeneron down 7. Johnson's down even with a double upgrade. Apple gets better up 144. Disney was up yesterday, down today. United Healthcare down $2 apparently on earnings. Banks are basically flat. Crude is up and the oils are up. OIH oil service up 2 1/4.
He sucks 80 freaking more. He actually sold it. He sold linen holdings. I thought he was going to just close these. Honest to God, I didn't think he'd get anybody. It's up with $250 million. I don't know how he talks someone into buying the Christmas tree shops. I've been there. In the month of July. No go. So anyway, Martin Tripp is a genius. And the more I look at this, I'll see it fastly and I'll raise you a bed back. Don't try to talk that different. Look at that.
Jim, what's on that tonight?
I got VMware and Medtronic. They're gonna get drafted. You know, they get killed with diabetes. But what a show! And David, never forget it. Fiber and fixed.
Got it. Fiber and fast.
And you ask those people what they do, and you know what they say. They go high.
We'll see you at 6, Jim. Mad Money, of course, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Squawk in the Street. I'm Carl Kitts today with David Faber.
You ain't be able to think for your boy because the warrant's not the common.
This morning, some Fed speak. Watching Apple and Amazon reaction to their 2 big events this morning, of course. Roadmap's going to begin with the banks, though. Earnings from Bank of America, Goldman, Wells Fargo, all out today. We're going to break down those results this hour.
Ben, what to make of Apple's high-speed event, its impact on 5G, chips, the wireless industry, and, of course, a lot of stocks.
And finally, the election's impact on your portfolio. How each candidate's policies could move the stocks you own.
We'll start with bank earnings, though, and Wilfred Frost has been digging through them all morning long. Hey, Will.
Hey, Carl, let's start with the provisions for bad loans, a big focus coming into this quarter. The wall that we've got here shows how much lower they are this quarter compared to Q1 and Q2, though still positive. They've fallen the most relative to Q2 for both JP Morgan and Bank of America. Maybe that wall's on its way. Today, Bank of America spoke in particular of improving consumer environment. That September consumer spending as well was in fact higher year over year. This has been offset by pressures on net interest income because of lower yields. Yesterday, JP Morgan was down 9%. Today, Bank of America was both down high teens year over year. But on the Bank of America call, they made it clear that they think net interest income is bottom, not just because they don't expect the long end of the yield curve to fall further from here.
Generac up 3.5 after being down yesterday. Lemonade up 4.
Goldman had blowout numbers. They're trading performance like Citi, like JP Morgan.
TQQ backs off.
Year over year, but lower quarter over quarter. But nonetheless, their numbers did stand out. But it was their asset management performance that contributed most of all to their wide beat.
Caesars all the way back down.
CFO Stephen Scher gave a pretty
Penn all the way back down.
in terms of investment banking from here.
ABGO, they had positive comments and down.
That they feel looking forward, the backlog has increased significantly versus the second quarter and is supported by rampant M&A, was his term in terms of outlook from here, guys.
Because their advisory fees, as you know, Wilfred, were not as strong as they were from the last quarter. That second quarter was a very strong one, capital markets-wise, and even advisory-wise. Although, again, to your point, Goldman had a very strong quarter overall.
Yeah, I think across all of investment banking and trading, that theme was expected, which was going to be lower quarter over quarter, but still higher year over year.
Goldman only up 73 cents.
We're still in an environment where you want to be in investment banking in 2020, not in commercial banking because of that pressure, as we've said, in net interest income. And we wondered coming into this quarter whether that gap would narrow. Maybe it has a fraction, but the difference between Goldman Sachs' share price performance today and that of Wells Fargo and Bank of America kind of highlighting that the general theme still applies. Investment banking is the place to be this year.
All right, thanks, Will. Wilfred Frost. For more on the bank, let's bring in former Wells Fargo CEO Richard Kovacevich. Dave, always great to get your perspective on things. I feel like there could be a bank discussion and then a separate Wells Fargo discussion. I mean, Wells Fargo has been the underperformer in the sector. It entered the pandemic in a much weaker position with declining revenues and a loaded expense base, and it's got a lot of regulatory issues. As a former CEO, presumably as a shareholder, Vic, how much work does Charlie Sharp, the new CEO, have ahead of him?
Well, I really don't know the answer to that because, I've been gone now for 14 years. But from what I read, they're working primarily on fixing the issues that they had with the Federal Reserve. And that focus is probably, and the asset cap is causing revenues to continue to decrease. And so you have increasing expenses and lower revenues. That's not a good position to be in. And hopefully they are working to change those things.
Yeah, you're still a shareholder, right, Jeff? Is that it's a question? Okay, so as a shareholder, why do you've been out for 14 years, so you have the benefit of being sort of this outside, slightly impartially, I'm sure you still have some partiality to Wells Fargo. But why do you want
And I owe her $4.
on this turnaround? Do you see that coming as a shareholder?
Well, yes, I think it will come. I think there are fewer shareholders because they cut the dividend so much, and I think for a long time that was a reason to wait for the turnaround because you were getting paid to wait. So I think they lost.
Barbara, I don't think PRTT is a buy right now. I almost think it's being shorted.
I don't remember seeing a group quite this out of favor.
Keep buying it, it keeps getting filled.
Long in a while. I don't know about you. I mean, is it all just about rates at the end? Even Goldman Sachs, which, as Will indicated,
Goldman only up 44 cents.
Really isn't doing much of anything as a stock. It's not down nearly as much as some of the big banks. But does it just all come back to rates?
Well, it doesn't come back to rates. The rates are low because there's a lot of uncertainty about the economy. And those are related.
Adobe down 8.
And certainly, as
Zoom down 14. DraftKings down $1. Caesars down. 10 down.
And you talk about trading revenues, and certainly they've been good, but the market has never paid for trading revenues. It's too unpredictable. It's too volatile. So you may get a 50 cents or $1 pop because of trading revenues, but no one is going to invest in banks for a long time, at least if I certainly based upon trading revenue. You've got to get back to non-interest revenue other than trading. And you've got to get net interest revenue. And if net interest revenue is going to be a problem as long as the banks, as long as the Fed interest rates low. Now, hopefully the margin has reached bottom here, or pretty close to bottom. But the only way you're going to get there, if the margins stay the same.
Lazy warrants back to 310, 334. What a bargain they were.
And you're only going to have more loans if the economy is strong.
Right.
And I think that gets back to we've got to get a vaccine so that there's some certainty that we're going to have a turnaround in the economy and more employment and so on. So vaccine, I think, is the most important catalyst to see bank stocks, which are absolutely like the lowest they've been for the longest that I can remember, back into good fun. Now, another problem is that the Fed is still considering, supposedly, eliminating dividends on banks. And so one of the reasons, again, that banks have held up to some extent through all this is that they have a high yield. And so I think it's a very negative thing that the Fed is doing. Either do it or let it go. It's bad for the economy and it's bad for
To the fundamentals of the fact is, I mean, deposits, man, the accretion of deposits of all these big banks is pretty extraordinary. And even loan loss provisions have slowed, not to mention even some reserve releases. I mean, shouldn't one be encouraged by that as a reflection of the underlying economy?
Yes, but there's still uncertainty. I don't know of anyone who thinks
So PLL at 369.
That's getting worse, or the probability of that is low. There's uncertainty.
Yeah, did you listen to me on
Loan losses, the reserve for loan losses are likely to be more than required rather than less than required because of the new CECL.
The warrants are at 304. I will bet you they're going to be 17 in June. That's 6 times my money. Not everything's a day trade. The company Jim just said, you didn't hear what he said. He says they're paying off their debt. He says they'll be net free, and then Raymond James and Bader work with the stocks. He says it's positive. He says it's creative. The raise in the stock of the thing to keep reading. So I just sold the other. I think I should say. But anyway, I bought all the warrants and traded that one more. And they're up to 3 or 4. And in my mother's account, 304. In my mother's account, I would buy 2,000 at 305 and just forget about them because they will be very successful.
so I think the JP Morgans of the world, the Bank of America of the world, is the best place to be because the consumer will come back, the economy will come back. And in the meantime, they still have trading revenues, they have investment banking revenues, and so being diversified, and unless you're a trader, which I'm not, being diversified is the best place to be as an investor. And all of those well-diversified banks pay high yields, and so the stocks go up and down, and you're still making a reasonable return at a zero interest rate, and that's what I think.
All right, Dick, great to speak with you. Thanks for your time.
Bulls like candy calls. KNDI.
Watching the airlines this morning, United set to report after the bell tonight.
VLDR up 40 cents.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, Carl. Yeah, shift to United moving a little bit higher today. And the numbers come out after the bell. Everyone knows it's going to be a very, very good one. I'm not big fan of United, but don't do that today. We'll see that with all of these airline stocks. Focus will be on how much did they get Q3 today. Do they bring it down even further than that? We'll get a good sense of where they are, not only for Q3, but what they expect for Q4. Revenue expected to drop 7%. Remember, in the third quarter, United made a number of new value contracts securing work capital by leveraging its supplier program. It also was gradually adding capacity. It's also selectively adding flights throughout Q4. And they have a further 15,000 people that went into effect at the end of Q3 on October 1st. So when we talk with CEO Scott Kirby tomorrow morning exclusively on Squawk Box, we'll be talking about not only the results, but the forecast for the first quarter, the outlook for how things will go in the third quarter next year, up to the airline industry, and yes, what happens with airline relief costs in Washington. Because as you know, that discussion is still there, and for these airlines that have already furloughed these workers, at some point,
MMM 23 bit. Let me close that door.
Politico says that Mnuchin and Pelosi will speak again today on the phone, Phil, so we'll have to watch. It's one of those things the market is closely monitoring. Thanks, Phil DeVille on United tonight. As we go to break, take a look at shares of Concho amid reports that Hanukkah was in talks to buy the rival energy giant. We're going to break down some of the top picks within the energy sector, which is one of the leading sectors this morning. We're back after a break.
Sales is down last quarter, but we're hoping things will pick up by Q3. Yes. Sorry about that. It's
All right. Never settle with Power E-Trade. It has powerful, easy-to-use tools to help you find opportunities. 24/7 support when you need answers, plus some of the lowest options and futures contract prices around. Don't get mad. Get E-Trade and start trading today.
You know what's making Sarah's migraine worse?
okay. Let's table that.
But you know what gives her some relief? Using Zepdone to book a video visit.
You'll get the prescription this afternoon. Does that work? Yes.
I said PLO could go to 36. It's 36.
The airlines are still burning through tens of millions of dollars every single day. And it's fascinating watching the move they are making to come up with the cash so they can be in business 6 months from now or a year from now. When you watch CNBC, you hear directly from the airline CEOs. What's their next move? Will we always be wearing a mask? CNBC has been the place where people turn for information.
What's 1200 more lazy warrants? They're up at 3.
Coming out of this coronavirus. Fellas, you may not know, but it's possible to injure yourself during intercourse, causing your erection to become...
Now they're up at 334.
If you're hurt, it could be an addressable medical condition called Peyronie's disease, or PD.
Company's probably going to come in and buy and make an offer like 40 after the warrants. I don't know that, but I suspect it. But Jimmy suspects it.
About your curved erection. Find out more at learnaboutpd.com.
This year's been tough.
lot of times when this goes through the internet.
After joining more classes during lockdown, I taught myself how to play guitar online.
I'm going into the show and creating a small nonprofit foundation. So with little ads, how will I continue studying?
How are we going to do this online?
I feel like I'm ready. I'm ready.
I'm ready for anything.
The fence is up $2.
And we are taking a look at the impact each candidate's policies will have on different sectors of the economy. Today, the focus is energy. For more, we're joined by NASDAQ Corporate Solutions Energy and Utilities Director Tamar Esna, and Wells Fargo Securities Energy Analyst Roger Reed joins us on the phone. Roger, I'll just start with you. Yesterday, we had Harold Hammond.
Stock to buy in the back office, NIO.
Talking about $6 a barrel, $6 a gallon gasoline. And the prospect that Biden would ban fracking, despite the fact that he has said very unequivocally he would not. How do you see it?
Sure, thanks for having me this morning. Well, I mean, I'll say we wrote a note on it. We noted the inconsistencies, or I think we referred to it as inconsistencies of a politician, that knows no boundary of a political party.
Facebook turns red.
We've heard multiple Democrats, including Vice President Biden, refer to a fracking ban, and we've also seen them recently say that they don't intend to do that. But I think you have to consider that the overall move towards a decarbonizing world, at some point, oil and gas ends up with a shrinking threat, right?
Well, CXO up almost $5.
Yeah. Tamar, how do you see it, especially in terms of the longer-term trends that Roger refers to in terms of decarbonization, which are only going to, it would seem, accelerate?
I think that the train has already left the station on decarbonization, and that's going to happen irrespective of who occupies the White House. Investors want to see companies have lower emissions and publish more transparency on what their emissions are and show reduction in that.
Oh, CXO is looking to merge with Conoco, COP. That's why CXO is up.
So I think that in terms of gasoline prices, I mean, there are so many things that will affect price of oil and gasoline prices. Who occupies the White House is just one of the very long list of things. I think first and foremost, what happens with the economy and recovery post-COVID, whether people start traveling again, is probably the most important driver.
Assuming that tomorrow that the economy does improve globally and that eventually demand picks up, I'm wondering what you think of any sort of a blue wave or a Democratic victory. And I asked you this because the conventional thinking would be that it would be bad for this industry, but in the short term, even as we march as a society towards decarbonization, we are still at a point in time when most people drive fossil fuel cars. So are we sort of in a sweet spot where if they make drilling harder to do, and the supply of oil goes down, we could actually be in a very positive time frame period for the oil and gas companies, where prices are supported?
I would agree with that assessment. Also to consider is that if Biden were elected, he would probably re-enter a nuclear agreement with Iran, and so that would bring more Iranian barrels to market. And you have to wonder, the wild card there is if Iran starts pumping more, what does that do to the existing cohesion in OPEC+? You have to think that Saudi and Russia are not going to let Iran start taking market share. So you have to wonder about the total global order. But you're correct. I mean, I think that if there's limitations on drilling in the U.S., that could be supportive for prices. But that's not really the problem for the industry right now. That the industry is suffering from an erosion of investor capital because of the lack of return that the industry has demonstrated over the last 10 years, even when oil prices were meaningfully higher. So I think that's the critical question for investors right now in the energy sector, not the White House office.
I mean, Roger, you and Tamar are part of a shrinking cohort of analysts on Wall Street that cover the energy industry precisely because investor interest is so low as a percentage of the S&P. It's the smallest. What is your view in terms of the industry? Does it have to get smaller in that, are we going to see more deals go on like the ones potentially for Concha, or will we see some of the majors combine?
Yeah, well, I mean, you've obviously seen some transactions already unfold. gold this year. Chevron Noble was announced in July and just closed this month. So a pretty quick process there. I think most of the management teams of both the acquirers and the acquirees have said, we need fewer companies to get costs under control. But I think it's also worth considering that, there are some real challenges.
Lazy's still coming down.
Renewable side. If you just take renewable diesel, for example, we're going to see explosive growth in renewable diesel. I mean, we already have in the last couple of years. But by 2030, on those projections, renewable diesel's market share of the diesel market, not over oil, will be less than 2.5%. And that's a decade from now. Now, EVs are another contributor to alternative fuels.
Now it's 1451 to 1460. I put a 1463 buy stop. This way I know it's at least going up and not going down.
Quite a while. And one other thing to add on that is, if you look at what the industry is already doing, which is recognizing the forward.
Wells Fargo sees the NII approximately 40 billion lower than previous guidance.
Normalizes to in the next couple of years and focusing on returns. I mean, if we were to see an administration limit drilling in certain areas, the industry's already limiting its growth, right? I mean, there's not a near-term impact, I think, that's going to surprise people here, regardless of which party wins the White House and controls the government.
And finally, Tamara, just on the larger issue of sort of ESG and its growing importance conceivably in guiding asset allocation strategies from a lot of institutions, is there going to be a pool of available capital, still new money for many of these companies to potentially send their stock prices up, or is it just a market share game within sort of the industry itself?
Well, I think that the companies that are able to be consolidators and demonstrate returns, they really do have an opportunity to perform very well. If you look at tobacco stocks, they've been focusing on shareholder returns, and they even can perform well on an ESG perspective. So I think there really is an opportunity here for the industry to improve transparency and disclosure and focus on the low-hanging fruit, like cutting emissions from flaring, venting, and things like that. And then you look at, some of what the oil majors in Europe are doing, migrating more toward renewable energy and cleaner technology. And at some point, that might translate into more ESG-focused capital coming into those names. We haven't seen it yet. The stocks have continued to trade at multi-decade lows. But at some point, if they're able to demonstrate returns there, I think that could be a meaningful contributor to that.
Yeah, of course. Looking at BP at $16.76, the ADR. Tamara and Roger, thank you both. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now for our ETF spotlight, let's take a look at the Spider S&P Pharmaceuticals ETF, ticker XPH. It is up just fractionally 0.25%. One of the top 10 holdings, Eli Lilly, is currently trading a little bit lower 1 day after a pause of trial for its COVID antibody-based treatment due to a potential safety concern. Separately, Reuters is reporting the FDA uncovered a number of quality control problems at a plant set to manufacture promising COVID treatments. Again, Eli Lilly shares right now on Change. Spotless, you'll be right back.
ETF Spotlight is sponsored by Invesco. Let's invest in bigger possibilities together.
Wherever you start, S&H is where you can finish.
Amazon down 29.
Children, I am very proud of myself.
Finish your degree at SNHU.edu.
This is the investing book everyone is talking about. It's called Follow the Smart Money. And traders are lining up here to meet the authors, John and Pete Najarian, and get a free copy.
The smart money on Wall Street belongs to the big boys. They're the ones with the resources and technology to know before any of us when a stock is going to move. By following their trades the way we do, you gain their advantage and get in front
Just take care of delivery and it's yours free.
TQQ and SOXL both negative.
And DVD for free.
Call 800-850-3232 or go to followthesmartmoney.com now. That's 800.
Lazy's still coming down.
3232 or follow this.
You can retest the 14 bottom of maybe 4.
Forget the waiting room of a doctor's office. With PlushCare, the waiting room is this big. From your phone
My account shows down, but I can't worry about it because this is an investment.
major insurances.
You're never gonna make money on it. A lot of money.
Download PlushCare today. Millions of people are saying yes.
But I'll tell you when I think it's the bottom of it. I can't tell you that yet.
Recommended brand for non-drowsy relief. Allegra works 2 times faster than Claritin, and while Zyrtec may cause drowsiness, Allegra won't. Say yes to Allegra.
It's every municipal bond investor's dream. A bright, shiny city on a hill where there won't be any financial problems. But what if there are? That's why Assured Guarantee protects your principal and interest payments. Assured Guarantee, a stronger bond.
Well, GRYN at 31 cents. Our CBLV is 710.
The Port of Los Angeles just reported its
Now it
best
comes up.
September and best quarter ever. Jane Wells is in LA. She's not afraid of the stinking airplanes from Iowa to LA to who knows where next, Jane. What's going on there?
You just don't want to get near me, David. God knows what I've been exposed to. But as they say in Hollywood, we've got Bombo box office numbers. Right now, I'm atop the ATM terminal. This is the largest terminal in North America, almost 500 acres, and it is busy. The Port of Los Angeles has just released these numbers, saying in September they had almost 900,000 standard container units come through here. As you say, best September, best quarter. Now, most of that is thanks to imports, and most of them are coming from China. Imports up 17%. What trade war? Chinese container volume has more than tripled from a year ago.
Charlie, Victory, Larry, Barrett. Had a reverse split, but the machine is not showing it.
Also way up. Now, we're going to talk to the executive director of the port, James Soroka, in a bit to find out if this is
trading 710 with it.
and how much of it is just demand. Based on the number of ships right now on the water, this increase in volume is expected to accelerate through the month. Despite the bounce back, the port is still down for the year. And what are people buying? Well, one can assume, electronics for work from home or school from home, and Pelotons. Look at the containers of Peloton heading to America during the pandemic. According to Import Genius,
Troy Frank was downgraded, yet it's up. Mosaic is up, NTR is up, FMC. All the fertilizers are up. Which, by the way, is what PRTT is.
It's a great micro indicator, though, Jane. Truist today takes Peloton to 144. That's a street high. Jane Wells.
You see that?
See what?
It's a lot of Pelotons in China.
Oh, what?
The Peloton.
What
Exercise machine.
word? Terraton? PTON?
Exercise machine, all from
Oh.
China.
They're making them there or they're using them?
Only from China. They ship
Oh, okay.
to the port best year.
Before we talk about tax smart investing, well, Audrey's expecting.
Correct.
Grandparents. We want to put money aside for them, so change of plans. All right, let's see what we can adjust. Maybe first with the twins.
Changing plans.
Okay. Mom, are you painting again? You could sell these. Let me guess. Changing plans?
At Fidelity, a change in plans is always part of the plan.
Right now, because the housing market is on fire and inventory is low, multiple people are trying to buy the same house. And I've tried to put as many things in place as I can to help give our RP funding clients an edge to help you get that home you want.
Real journalism. It's what the Palm Beach Post is known for. The kind of important work that uncovers injustice and inspires change. for groundbreaking reporting on the coronavirus pandemic to keep you informed about what's really going on with your tax dollars and inside your local government. The Post always has been and always will be your source for local news that matters. Real journalists with real local impact. The Palm Beach Post. Real news starts here. Subscribe today at 800-926-POST.
I think people are ready for a change. You know, the mortgage industry has just made such a mess of so many people's lives. You know, I decided to open my own company, to open RP Funding in the wake of that, but to do it differently, and to try to change the industry if I could.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Sue Herrera. Here's your CNBC News update at this hour. In Wisconsin, a judge has temporarily blocked Governor Tony Evers' capacity limits for bars, restaurants, and other indoor places. Plaintiffs argue that the 25% limit is a de facto closure. Wisconsin hospitals recorded a record high number of COVID patients yesterday. Virginians are getting an extra 2 days to register to vote. A judge approved the extension after the state's registration web votes as the same point in the 2016 election. You can go to CNBC.com to see which states have already received at least 20% as many votes as were cast in 2016. And in Thailand, thousands of pro-democracy demonstrators pushing through police barriers. Some tried to turn over a police bus that had been put in their way. Their demands include fresh elections and a new constitution. Another busy news day. You are up to date. Carl, I'll send it back to you.
There's a lot going on, Sue. Thank you very much, Sue Herrera. Apple, as you know by now, introduced the 4 new iPhone models yesterday with faster chips, 5G capability, better camera function. How is the stock
wasn't done at all.
Those new items? City's Jim Suva joins us this
We
morning.
said it was done.
We'll talk more about that. Jim, good morning. Good to see you. Great to see you all.
Oh, yeah? Well, you don't have to even say that, because you can assume whatever you want.
Price action, I guess, is sort of classic, right? Any surprises?
You assume wrong.
Shares responded to the news yesterday?
Well, if we look at year to date, the stock has done extremely well. In fact, it has outperformed the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, the broader market. It has rallied. Whether you call it FANG or other issues, simply put, Apple during this pandemic is generating a tremendous amount of cash flow. They're inventing. They're coming out with new products. And interesting, because you know I live here in Silicon Valley area, they're hiring. A lot of industries are laying off people and doing furloughs and reductions of orders, hours of workers. We are actually seeing that Apple is hiring. That means they're coming out of the pandemic stronger. And importantly, the products that you're showing that Apple announced are going to be ready and on the shelves and available in large quantities for the holiday shopping season. And that's very important.
Yeah, decent the Times today about how much not just Apple, but Amazon and Google as well are buying real estate in Midtown, Manhattan. So that's interesting to watch. Cowan's Chris Schenker.
All right, I think that LAZY is making a bottom right now.
In terms of the actual product announcement, I mean, any surprises in your view, and how effective is this messaging that 5G is going to change your life?
Hey, Carl, thanks for having me. I would say in terms of the overall event, a lot of the specs are largely in line with what...
This got better, close to 1457.
I thought the price point was very attractive, although there was some speculation of the pricing late last week. So largely, overall, I'd say in line even. But I think the 5G is interesting. I do think that, we did a survey where we found out a lot of respondents were willing to upgrade their smartphones because of 5G. And we do think that actually this 5G could be a longer, stronger cycle. I don't think it's necessarily going to be a huge bump right away, but if you take a 2-3 year view, I think
Federal Express is some stuff.
A longer duration cycle because of the move to 5G, although it might be a little slow.
Krish, how do you think about that bump next year in the multi-year sort of super cycle thesis? If you assume that the installed base is likely to upgrade their phones right now, if they push out that upgrade, if instead of 3 years and they upgrade, they go 4 or 5 years just because of the uncertainty of the pandemic?
Sure. I think if you look at this year, what you're seeing is that, this year Apple is going to ship less than 200 million units, maybe around 185 million. They have a billion install base. If you assume a 5-year replacement cycle, that's 200 million units a year. But I think for the next few years, we do have it about 200 million. For calendar 2020, we have 215 million. And having the 200 million plus run rate sustainable for the next like 3 to 4 years. And I would say that is kind of like the big swing with the 5G, where you have a 200 million plus run rate for the next few years compared to a sub 200 million this year and a 200 million on average, over the last several years.
Jim, we're early, certainly in the 5G rollout, so to speak. I mean, obviously not just for the handsets, but for the networks themselves. But I wonder, when you think about how many businesses were enabled as a result of 4G, and what that meant to Apple as well as sort of the key device in your life, how do you think about 5G a few years from now? Will it also enable new business models we haven't thought about?
George stocks today, Minnesota Money, Caterpillar, cyclicals, Dow Chemical.
That's a very smart question.
Honeywell was down yesterday, it's up 3 today. IBM was down up $1.50 today. United Healthcare is the one hurting the Dow, it's down 7.
LTE, 2G, were primarily centered on the cellular connection of the smartphone only. 5G is going to be edge.
Taking Humana's down 8.
Think about your
Anthem's down 3.
Traffic signals being connected. Police survey cameras to prevent crime or to trace criminals or to look at actions. These things are yet still to come in the future. And broader picture beyond Apple, you also think about healthcare. The ability to monitor your blood pressure, your heart rate, your oxygen levels. Do you, instead of going into your primary physician once or twice a year, do you simply upload the data over the 5G network? These things are really going to be changing the way that we do life. Slowly,
Crispy CRSP looks decent.
Automobiles, traffic cameras, security systems, watches, healthcare is going to enable a lot more innovation simply beyond the smartphone as we know it here today, and 5G will enable that to happen.
Chris, we always talk about phones getting bigger, better, faster, smarter, but you have a nice wrinkle in one of your pieces about what you call mini form factors, where things are smaller and simpler. And I wonder, how effective is that barbell strategy? What kind of consumer response to that?
Sure. I think that is really targeted towards what I would characterize as maybe the price-conscious customer. Many of the consumers who don't need the latest, greatest, don't want to pay $1,000+ for a super high-end phone, but can still get the same high-end characteristics, but in a smaller form factor. And also for many of them, a large 6.7 screen size is too cumbersome to put in your coat pocket. But I think the key here is that even with a mini iPhone, you have the same A14 chip, so the performance characteristics of the phone are still on par with any other high-end phone out there. So I do think that the mini form factor is interesting, especially as it is skewed more toward what I've called the more price-sensitive consumer base.
Yeah. Guys, we look forward to watching your field checks as we get closer and closer to the holiday season, guys, and get deeper into 4Q. Jim Suva, Krish Sankar, thanks, guys.
Thanks, man.
Great to see you. Bye-bye.
Coming up after the break, CNBC's Shepard Smith will join us ahead of his special report, Air Travel and Turmoil, which premieres tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Stay with us.
How far does $1 million go in retirement?
Like so much in life, it depends. Is your portfolio in stocks, bonds, cash, gold? Or do you plan for greater healthcare costs as you age? Where do you live? Cost of living makes a difference, as do market conditions. Bull or bear? Lots to think about. Fisher Investments can help.
Call now for your free Fisher Guide, the 15-minute retirement plan, and find out how long your portfolio will last, how much income you can take each year, how cost of living may impact your retirement, and more. Call Fisher Investments for your free guide, 1-800-330-0011.
For over 40 years, Fisher has helped investors achieve a comfortable retirement. If your portfolio is over $500,000, you want to make your retirement last? Call now.
Call now for your free retirement guide. Call 1-800-330-0011.
Don't just retire. Retire well.
This industry is on its knees.
COVID-19 is another catastrophe.
If you can call it normal, this is the new normal.
Shepard Smith reports air travel in turmoil premieres tonight, 8 Eastern, CNBC.
The nation's corporate earnings picture. The best strategies for your money in the COVID economy. Protecting your investments. Finding new potential. Team coverage and analysis all day. And watch or listen live on the CNBC app.
We asked our traders to go on the hunt for a consumer stock that is trading at a steep discount but has promising growth potential.
Oh, we bid 270 on the LAZ wide warrants.
More squawk on the street coming up.
270, I'd be a buyer.
Introducing Schwab stock slices. For as little as $5, now anyone can own companies in the S&P 500, even if their shares cost more. At $5 a slice, you could own 10 companies for $50 instead of paying thousands. All commission-free online. Schwab stock slices, an easy way to start investing or to give the gift of stock ownership. Schwab, own your tomorrow. Incomparable design makes it beautiful. State-of-the-art technology makes it brilliant. The visionary Lexus NX.
Lease the 2021 NX 300 for $359 a month for 36 months.
Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
Since the pandemic began, airlines have been highlighting their cleaning protocols, the air filtration on their planes. But what about keeping that middle seat open? As part of an original CNBC documentary, Shepard Smith explores what airlines and airports are doing to convince travelers it's safe to fly.
On an airplane, no matter what you do, you cannot properly socially distance.
Sarah Nelson is the president of the Association of Flight Attendants.
Everybody loves the marketing slogan, "We keep the middle seat open." But let's face it, they would have loved that before coronavirus.
What clearing the middle seat does do is decrease the number of people on a plane, allowing the flight crew to move passengers around. A complex jigsaw puzzle, giving travelers more than the distance of just an armrest.
We recognize that there are some airlines who have put more planes back in the air to try to help with capacity and try to keep us from being completely full on these flights. And that's really what we need to do, is make sure that there's some
Amazon down 360, NIO up 360, Target $40. Tesla broke out. Nice job, Tesla. Netflix Target raised sharply.
With that news on that special report, Shepard, it's great to have you.
Thanks, Carl.
Dumbo was on my short list, didn't hit my price.
And say the number of documented cases spread on a plane is de minimis for people who've traveled so far this year. I mean, how much faith do we put in that statistic?
We did a lot of research, and our documenting producers did as well, and the number is low. The key is the way they filter the air and all the rest. But let's face it, if you have somebody sitting next to you who pulls the mask up and sneezes, I mean, that's it. For the middle seat, they say it's a marketing slogan. It's more than that. We need some distance, and we know that. We'll get through all those issues tonight. This really is about people, Carl, you know. It's about frontline workers who have to be there, whose lives have been upended by it. Quite extraordinary.
Jeff, you know, we had Ed Bastian on yesterday with us, CEO of Delta, talking about what the Carl referenced was very low rates of transmission, you know. But the bigger question remains, why do you want to get on an airplane in the first place? I mean, heck, most people in the country can't even come to New York, and we certainly aren't allowed to go to Europe or anywhere else. So until that comes back, it's hard to imagine the industry has any real chance of coming.
It is. You know, for now, it seems like there are a lot of frontline workers who are on it. There are doctors and nurses going from one place to another. Some people are traveling to weddings and doing things that the scientists would suggest you would insist you should not do. But people are in the skies. The numbers have ticked up, and the airlines say that they're seeing their bookings, especially for Thanksgiving and then over the New Year's and Christmas holidays, that they're coming up. You know, there's some fatigue on coronavirus, and people are on the move.
You know, watching this video, Chef, from the dock, watching the planes being cleaned, it looks like the planes are actually cleaner than they were pre-pandemic these days. I'm wondering, when you've talked to all these people, you know, right now is the time when stimulus is being hammered out. what is the argument for the airline industry to get a second round of stimulus versus other industries?
Their argument is simple and it's immediate. We didn't do anything wrong. This isn't the time where the airlines disbanded, they bought back too much stock, they didn't, they didn't do things. It came to them. They are victims through no fault of their own. They're being laid off, and they can't pay the bills and feed their kids by the tens of thousands, and more are coming. And they're like, look, you want to lose this industry? You want to get down to 2 airlines? Because somebody will go bankrupt. That's their argument. Then just don't give us any help. Help out everyone, but help us too. Because without the airline industry, that's 5% of GDP. We're in a lot of trouble without it.
Wow, that's an incredible number. Chef, I'm always amazed. The industry was so complex already. You got government regulation, unions, airline maintenance. It's capital intensive, and to layer this on top of all of that probably makes the most complicated industry that much more complicated.
It is, but they have such a great lobby from their perspective. They make a lot of noise on Capitol Hill, and their point is, don't leave our people to fend for themselves when there are no more jobs. I talked to flight attendants and cab drivers and everyone associated who said, there was a time when you get furloughed, well, you go find a job waiting tables, or you go do this. There are none. There's nothing for them to do, and they're looking at, we planned, our mortgage is there, we didn't overspend, we didn't do anything wrong, and now we're just screwed, and they're hurt.
Yeah, and Chef, often we hear from dealers who say, look, it's
Barbara, you gotta watch out next time when you see 200 shares on the offer.
Figure it out yourself.
That's what they do to trick you.
Think of jet service as
You got tricked.
as a given, right? As something that we deserve in all communities, and to just have that yanked away feels wrong.
I paid $15.12, $14.75, $14.85.
She's right. If every
I'm actually, hopefully, I'm very, very comfortable. Might take 2 more days to do a secondary. Might take a couple of days to clear it out. But I think I'm going to make a lot of money. This deal is accretive. So they're going to not dilute the stock or the earnings by doing this. They're going to be debt free. Going to get recommended. He said Raymond James and Baird.
The new LaGuardia Airport. I've traveled for decades. That's the most beautiful air terminal in America.
We'll make this a big stock.
It's incredible. It's just empty.
Yes.
But it's an investment, and we're down at the moment. Just relax.
They finished that construction.
We
can't wait.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, we can't wait to see that and the dock at large. And we're all going to be watching Shepard Smith reports air travel in turmoil tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time, right here on CNBC. Jeff, thanks.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
The way they built the LaGuardia while they kept everything else going was incredible to watch, too.
We'll show that.
Yeah, they're still working on it. Chef just said they'll show that as well. Before we give you a break here, take a look at shares of Bed Bath & Beyond. They are higher yet again, and what a move it's been of late. They're selling the Christmas Tree Shops retail chain to Jersey-based Linen Holdings. That will allow Bed Bath to focus on its core business. Although don't forget, they also still own Bye Bye Baby. We're back after this.
I believe ETFs are a great way to invest in the market. I just don't believe in market cap-weighted ETFs. My research shows how fundamentals can lead to performance, and that's exactly how Wisdom Tree builds their ETFs. To me, it's a better way to invest. Legacy ETFs that track the market, that's yesterday.
EDU recommended up $6.
Built for performance.
Baidu up $9. Baba down $1. Zacks highlights Google, Amazon, Nvidia, Apple, and Baidu.
I have an idea for a trade. I ain't gonna place it. Not until I'm sure. Why don't you call TD Ameritrade for a strategy gut check? What's that? You run it by an expert and talk about the risk and potential profit and loss. Should have used that before I hired my interior decorator.
Wow.
throat fillers would help.
Get a strategy gut check from our trade desk.
Cisco.
There are three
Look a little bit better.
stocks that go higher. You can have better than expected earnings, all right? We don't understand that. Second, you have what we call self-help. That could be selling.
Ex-dividend 10-1.
Third, hype. Watch or listen live when you see
Ex-dividend
Here's what you need to know.
357
Joe
deals.
will not raise taxes on anyone making under $400,000. Biden will get rid of Trump's tax giveaways for the super wealthy and make big corporations finally pay their fair share. Biden will use those savings to help working families and seniors, investing in lowering healthcare costs, improving education, and protecting Social Security and Medicare. Biden's plan. Corporations pay more. You benefit.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Discover the plus in 55 plus living in Crestwind, Palm Beach. Located in Westlake, Florida's newest city, Crestwind Palm Beach is a fresh new home choice designed for the next generation. Crestwind Palm Beach is a 55 plus community for those who thrive on a happy, healthy life through fitness, nutrition, and relationships. 9 decorated models now open. To learn more about all the pluses Crestwind offers, visit CrestwindPalmBeach.com. That's CrestwindPalmBeach.com.
I bought back a teeny bit of PLL.
Welcome back to
It
School
was
on
up
the Street.
4, it's up 2.
Markets are well off their highs of the session, but trying to hold on to some gains. You can see we dipped very briefly into negative territory. The Dow, by the way, was up 112 points at the high of the session. The S&P 500 in the energy sector right now remains the outperformer and one of the real bright spots, as you can see, the best performing sector by a wide margin so far today. As we take a look at some of the individual
I don't give it
in the energy sector and the S&P
any more than a
500,
6.
Conoco Resources, far and away the outperformer on the heels of a Bloomberg report saying that ConocoPhillips might be in talks to acquire that rival producer. Elsewhere, rising oil prices today also benefiting the energy sector. You've got Diamondback, Apache, Baker Hughes among the leaders this morning.
Okay.
Energy, and I will send it back over to you guys.
I really love it from the side. I figured you can write over here so many times you're not going to be wrong. Doesn't matter what I take it.
Robert Frank explains. Robert, tell us why.
Well, Melissa, wealthy Americans transferred nearly $500 billion to their kids and relatives every year.
Yeah, there's nobody who wants to sell them particularly. I mean,
even more in
they're,
advance of
you
the
know,
possible
they're up to $3.
My tax plan calls for a big jump in the estate and gift tax. Now, under current tax law,
You just should take the offer. It doesn't matter. If you're right, 20 cents doesn't matter. I know you're a smart buyer, but it doesn't matter.
The estate tax rate from 40 to 45%. So, if a family was going to leave $20 million for their kids, they would face zero taxes on that right now, but pay nearly $6 million in taxes next year if Biden wins and he gets that tax plan through. Now, trust me, the state's attorneys say they have never been busier as clients rush to create trust and accelerate inheritance plans. Now,
you should not be able to buy a public company for less than 1.5 times sales. The average company in the Russell trades at almost 10 times. Okay? When I was buying U.S. Walmart, it got down to 15 cents on the dollar to $300 million in sales when the stock went to a drop. There's 37 million shares outstanding. So what's that? 30 cents. You run the stock for 12, 13 cents on the dollar. There's no fucking way that that's free up. If I really believe my own bullshit, which I kind of do, but as I get older, the same fucking stories just keep repeating themselves. Golden Entertainment, okay? Stock had a $109 million market cap. You know, piece of shit, doesn't trade. I heard the same thing from you. I was just like, dude, you don't understand this company. Even Linda came in to the steakhouse in the city when they had the business. The very first time Wall Street ever saw Golden, I exposed it. I did lunches and dinners for 3 straight days. And the stock traded a little bit. Then it went back to sleep. Then they announced they bought the strategy that the stock goes into the high teens. It gets listed in the Russell in June. The next thing you know, the stock's $30. Okay? U.S. Walmart's stock finally strings a quarter or two together. It goes from $1 to $3. Gets to $4 as the institutions gain the system figure it's going into the Russell. Goes into the Russell. I waited for years for this piece of shit to move. As soon as they announced it went into the Russell at $100 million, they come chasing the stock. The
Some trends are so influential they can move entire
60.
sectors.
The $62.5 stock.
It has the
Now,
potential.
the average stock in the Russell on the small side of the index trades at 1.7 times.
The energy
If
sector.
you want me to tell you the stock to be 100, I'll send shit like this to people before. Nobody believes me. Dude, let's settle for 50. We'll worry about it there. The stock's going nowhere but up. So whatever you're doing today, you're doing the right thing. But be patient. It's floppy. You know, if anybody knows about day trading, it's you. You had all the people yesterday buying the move through the 52-week high. Woke up this morning and the entire momentum of the trade got stopped in its tracks. Day traders are like, oh my God, something's wrong. Freak out, panic, and sell, right? The stock opened at $14. And now the stock's got to repair itself a little bit. But look, well, they're going to save, I told you, $6 million a year in interest. It takes the question mark of if or when Coliseum's going to dilute you with this convertible. You'll have no debt whatsoever. A virginal, crystal clear capital structure, no debt, nothing but a straight share deal with $80+ million in cash. They'll swap the financing money for the convertible. And the business is still the business. It isn't going anywhere. It's growing like a weed. And, you know, that's my argument. Plus, you'll get 3 brokers reports instead of some guy sitting in the fucking middle of Rumble, Minnesota, afraid of his own shadow, telling you the stock's worth $18 or $19. That's bullshit. So we're right. We're going to be right again. You know, it sucks. Believe me, man. I don't want to see. I own both of these stocks personally. I own the warrants hard, and I own the common personally, and in my family's trust. It's not fun, but I know this is the right thing for the shareholders long term, big time. So we're going to be right. Just hold your nose here for a day, and we'll fix. I think by 11:30, you know, when they get done with the Zoom call, the stock can turn around.
Very good, thank you, Jim.
All right, bye.
Introducing this doctor's appointment online with top doctors for primary care and
He's gonna be right. I'm following him for 30 years. I put him in the business. He makes millions. God, does he make money.
by utilizing a 0% APR, you'll pay down debt faster and keep your credit score intact.
You just buy some and put it away in your Roth IRA.
Good morning. It is 8 a.m. at EA headquarters in Redwood City, California.
Could you pay 51 and then it goes to 20? Yeah, so what? If my thing is, I'm looking to never think about money. So I got to bet on the farmer. TRTT certainly isn't looking very good. And I'll put my bet on this LZY. I'm following Jimmy for 30 years. Let me tell you. I'll tell you, he's going to be right. The stock is going to be at least 50. So the warrants will be at least 18. When do you have a chance of beating that percentage? And he has an order to buy a lot of warrants right now. He started to say and then he stopped.
2 days down, something we haven't done for stocks in a few weeks. Big show ahead, including the CEO of Electronic Arts, Andrew Wilson, as we talk to him about the world of gaming and a lot more. But John, retrospective of Apple's...
Okay, so you buy the warrants at 278. You got 20 cents downside. And if he's right, the stock's 50, the warrants are 17. So that's 3 to 17 to 600% in 7 months. That's bad.
Here in the U.S. are ready to drive demand for such a phone. Our Josh Lipton comes out before us. And Josh, I didn't see Tim Cook hedge at all in his 5G.
I've watched him over the years. I can't tell you how many winners he's had. And he buys them when the street doesn't want them. But see, now that they do want them, if they want the lazy, that 4 million share secondary it's going to be done. It's going to be, and he's going to get institutional orders. Anyhow, Barry's making this a focused position to hold until